right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, BULLSH, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you. And let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch us, even though you missed the live party, guys. That is the best part. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe and ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. If you'd like to support the channel, head on over to theindianjesus.com for your very own official merch. We do also have a free Discord server. It is absolutely free to join. Got 24/7. We're in there hanging out, having interesting conversations. But there's only a few channels that are free. If you'd like to get access to the full thing, scroll right below this video and you can become a member of this YouTube channel, which not only gives you members only live streams here, but after every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday stream, once we are done here, I'm gonna dance around words with the YouTube censors and you guys stuck behind your keyboard. Not anymore. We head into Discord where you're on screen with me and everybody else. It is a really good time. You should come and join us. We got Dietrich's in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. So, I think it was only a few days ago, maybe last week or whenever it was, that on the Crucible, the Andrew Wilson guy debated Dave Smith. And it was a very, very weird exchange. And it seemed like Andrew Wilson definitely got the better of Dave, but it also seemed like Dave kind of just like checked out and wasn't even really there. And there was some talk about them, kind of doing it over again and trying again. And luckily they did. So we have our boy Dave Smith and, of course, Andrew the Crucible. I'm skipping over a big portion of it. They're kind of just talking about like what the red pill is and, basic stuff about women and marriage and stuff like that. But a lot of the conversation does focus around marriage and prenups and all that stuff. So we'll just jump in right here. As always, guys, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
So we're talking about the ontology of the being, the thing, the core that makes a man, and what makes a woman a woman. You can't really go with traits because there's women who are brave. There's men who are brave. There's men who are, they talk a little bit softer, and there's men who talk or women who talk a little bit deeper, right? You can't really equate it trait to trait, right? We all have some kind of similarity in traits. Men, yes, I would say we're higher in what you would consider masculine traits, but if there's overlap to women, you don't not consider them women anymore, right?
Right.
You just don't.
Well, they do.
Because there's something more key there. There's an essence, right? So in the Orthodox belief, the Orthodox Christian belief, when we're talking about essence, the thing itself, you absorb what to be a man is in the very air you breathe and the company you keep and everything that's going on around you. You absorb it. It can't be explained. It can't really be articulated. It can't be defined.
It can't be explained, or it can't be explained yet. Interesting or important distinction, but play on.
Absorb it. It can't be explained. It can't really be articulated. It can't be defined, and it doesn't need to be because we've captured the essence. When I say the word man, we've captured everything that's supposed to be because we've lived it, breathed it, are it, right? We can't even describe it. We don't need to. But with women, it's the same thing. They get everything which is woman, which is feminine, kind of beamed into their head the same exact way through every type of environmental interaction they have with all of the people who are around them, all of the women who are around them. They become finally to be what their ontology is meant to be.
So again, guys, they were just coming off, more of a, red pill men and women type of discussion, something you would hear on any red pill podcast. So we kind of skip forward a little bit there. But if you are not familiar, this is Dave Smith on the left and, of course, Andrew Wilson, who was just talking. If you'd like to watch the podcast without my commentary, I do like to talk a lot. That is why I started a YouTube channel. But the link to this is in the description below. Shout out to Nick Luchetti. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the building. Good to see you, brother. Always good to see you.
Who are around them, all of the women who are around them, they become finally to be what their ontology is meant to be. That's all fucked, right? That's all fucked. But for men, it won't be.
And there goes monetization.
Because we don't have the superpower, right? That superpower, that's the inverter, right? The fact that so many men will do anything to sniff around some low-tier poon, right? Creates this magnification of power dynamics, which never was so. And that's really kind of the core of what it is that you're trying to attack or what you're trying to get at. But the answer is pretty elusive. Like, how do you actually attack that problem? I don't know.
Well, I mean, anecdotally, at least in my life, I do still think that probably the best answer still is for men at least, is to like get married and have kids and stay together. Stay with your wife, because I will say that the women who have two parents or the girls who grow up to be women who have two parents in the household and have a good relationship with their father still is even in these crazy days, that's the best lifeline you could have.
And you see Andrew shaking his head. Yes, I think we can all agree that a girl with a father is almost always going to be better off than a girl who doesn't have one.
Really is.
But here's the thing. You're right. You're absolutely right. The backbone of the entirety of Western society is the idea of the cross-generational nuclear family, right? Cross-generational family. We love that. We love the nuclear family. We love that. Both dynamics are perfect. They're great. And they exist. They've coexisted inside of the West forever and ever and ever. And still, that's going to be a thing that we're always missing. We're always yearning for, right? We want to see more of it. But do you know why it's a status symbol? People forget that it's a status symbol. For men, having a family, right? Having children, and having an intact nuclear family with a wife that loves you and children who adore you, that's a high status symbol.
100%.
It's a high status symbol. In fact, it's such a high status symbol, your employers are more likely to trust you. Your friends are more likely to trust you. Almost everybody is more likely to do for you just because of the status of you having a family than they are for somebody who's single.
Even in court, ties to the community. If you're just some guy and you're in a long-term relationship, like, okay, you got a girlfriend, but if you have a family, if you have children, then, even if you do something wrong and then you go to sentencing, they can bring that up to help lessen your sentence. So that definitely has a lot of weight in society.
There's a good reason for that status symbol. Again, all totally fucked up, right? All totally fucked up. And that status symbol's now been inverted. And now the status symbol is the opposite direction. If you have a nuclear family, you're one of these fucking patriarchist lunatics who wants to destroy the very fabric of progress itself, Dave.
Well,
right?
okay. All
right, I'll let them go.
Okay, yeah, no, I get your point. But also there is still an element there where there's real life, and then there's like liberal cities and online where just because as you say it, I do literally, and I don't know if I've even thought about it exactly like this before, but there is. Like when I'm out with my wife and kids, there is a certain feeling of pride that I have.
And a certain feeling of status.
Yeah, a feeling of status. That it's
when someone knocks on your door, they call your wife Mrs. Smith, right? Yep. And if Mrs. Smith is standing on the side of the road and somebody pulls over and she has her wedding ring on, and they're like, oh man, let us get you back on the road. I'm sure your husband's worried sick, right? And I'm sure you've done that yourself, right? So the thing is that, there's a status which comes with this, and it's a much higher status. And that's another reason that it has been totally forgotten about, by the way, that is the kind of ultimate anti-materialist fuck you status symbol, which is available. But why do you think that's always under assault? It's always under assault everywhere. I mean, if you look at everything in the liberal.
Oh, yeah. And sorry, I forgot to mention, if you missed the original discussion, the whole thing was kind of libertarianism versus Christian nationalism. Obviously, Dave Smith being the libertarian and Andrew being the Christian Orthodox. Nick said, isn't that the way ish goes? You don't do anything wrong, but get screwed for what someone in the video says. YouTube rules. Well, we play.
But why do you think that's always under assault? It's always under assault everywhere. I mean, if you look at everything in the liberal progressive media, that dynamic, totally under assault. Women are in charge of the household, not men. It's my two dads, my two moms, or my polygamous marriage, or any number of different family dynamics which are pushed, except that one.
Okay, so that's actually a good question to ask, where we could transition a little bit into kind of the stuff we were debating about the other day. But I do think that a huge part of that, a reason why that's under assault, is because I do think, look, in the environment that we're in today, where we live under, not just a modern centralized nation state, but the biggest, most powerful one in the history of the world, I do think that big government always sees family and religion and community as their rivals. And I don't think it's a coincidence that as power in Washington, D.C. has ballooned to the highest point that it's ever existed, the highest point any government power has ever existed, that there's been a systemic attack on the family. And
yeah,
I think there's a
And so this is where we're starting to, I want to go back a little bit. And this is where we're starting to get into a little bit more of the actual worldviews of libertarianism versus Christian nationalism. And so we do have the poll up at 50-50 right now. Do you think Dave will redeem himself? And so again, I think that in terms of a debate, if we're looking at it as a debate, what he would have to do would be not only to explain how libertarianism is better than Christian nationalism, but also kind of backtrack and kind of explain why he kind of just gave up or whatever happened there, because they were talking about, I mean, I don't even want to bring it up because it's nasty, but they were talking about something that should be completely weird under a Christian perspective, but completely kosher under a libertarian perspective. And Dave he just didn't, I don't know. And so again, I saw a little bit of this. I'm hoping that he will. I'm hoping.
real connection there. Do you not?
Well, I do, but let me give a slight amount of pushback here.
Sure.
Let us back up a little bit. Let me ask you this question. If 75% of divorces are initiated by women, I don't think it's quite that high, but let's just assume it is. Okay. It's the vast majority of divorces are initiated by women. Why do you think that is?
Okay. So I would.
Before he says anything, I think that this is a statistic. Usually they say it's like 7 or 8 out of 10, something like that, 75% initiated by women. But I don't like this statistic, because just because you're the one to sign the paperwork doesn't mean it's your fault that the marriage ended. Like if somebody else like if you're a husband and your wife cheats on you, and then you go file for divorce, that's not your fault that the marriage ended. You know what I mean?
Say that there's again, with any question like that, there's many reasons.
Sure.
But a huge portion of a huge percentage of that is that all of the laws are stacked in women's advantages. And that there's this kind of like natural order where, typically speaking, women, like when those chicks you'll be arguing with will talk about the wage gap, and then you or one of the other guys on the show will
he's talking about the whatever podcast,
explain to them that it's like, have you ever even looked into the wage gap? Do you know what that is? It's like, okay, well, here's why. One of the big reasons why there's a wage gap is because, like, you guys have the babies. And typically speaking, after you have the babies, you have to nurse the babies and you have to take care of the babies, and someone's got to stay with the babies. And it tends to make more sense for the men to be the breadwinners and to be the ones working, especially since we don't even know what to do with the freaking babies when they're newborns, and you guys have it all genetically encoded into you. And so the natural order, or the natural market order, if you want to look at it that way, would be that the man has this really big bargaining chip. That is like, hey, if you were to leave me, your life is going to be way, way harder than if you stayed with me. But then the government comes in.
Well, see, that's a sticking point. That's why I wanted to kind of get your outlook.
Well, just to be clear, because
still interrupting. We came in, and at the beginning they were like, okay, so we're going to do this more of a conversational style as opposed to a debate. And then Andrew's like, well, when I debate, I'm here to represent an idea, and da-da-da-da-da. Which is, I mean, not untrue, but that doesn't mean you have to be a dick.
That's a sticking point. That's why I wanted to kind of get your outlook.
Well, just to be clear, because my argument is that the law comes in and says that actually, no, you're entitled to half of what he has, if not more, that we're going to give you all the services in the world, that we're going to have the entire system is
done via contract
in favor of the woman.
But it's done via a contract. It's done with a non-coercive contract. So for instance, right now, you can have all of the same perks that you get from being married without being married.
This is what I plan to do.
Right? You can go in you can go in your backyard tomorrow and you can say, I declare myself married. Put on a ring, your girl puts on the ring. And I mean, who the fuck is anybody to say that they're not, right? Who is anybody to say that they're not? In libertarian land, you really couldn't, right? You couldn't really say who's married, who's not. They just kind of declare it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any. I mean, I understand, obviously, there's tax benefits and stuff like that, and maybe eventually, depending on what's going on. But especially as just a, hey, you're the person I want to be with for my life. We can definitely have a party. We can definitely celebrate. We can definitely have symbols of that everlasting love without having to bring the government into it. And I can still call that person my wife and treat them as if they we were legally married. And why not? Why not?
Say that they're not. In libertarian land, you really couldn't, right? You couldn't really say who's married, who's not. They just kind of declare it. They're willingly signing these things, willingly signing these contracts. So explain this to me. And this is a sticking point, right? Big government or small government, anything in between. If women can adopt contracts and understand that they can adopt contracts that fucking men will sign, they will sign those contracts in order to get access to what the women have. How's that going to solve that problem? Without the large government or small government? That's what I don't get.
Sure. So I think that, well, first of all, it's not completely true what you're saying. I mean, there are in many states, not every state, but in many states, there are like these common law marriage rules where even if you just live with a chick and have kids with her, even if you didn't sign any contract, you're basically still on the hook for as if you married her. That does vary state to state.
It does, not only does it vary, but common law in no way, shape, or form is the same type of reflection that you would get only in like I think 3 states, as though you went and got an actual contractual marriage. There is some things that can happen around common law.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite as strong as a marriage. I think that's where there's actually I don't quote me on this, but if I remember correctly, the Commonwealth the common law marriage has more to do with the stuff like visiting somebody in the hospital and stuff like that than the divorce proceedings and stuff like that. But I could be very wrong on that. Shout out to Arjun. Welcome to the party. So there's so many loopholes in a prenup. F the contract and get married without the government. Now, and this is, again, I don't think that's for everybody. I do think it does make sense if you, especially if you don't have a problem with the government, if you are a religious person, the tax benefits are there. So I don't necessarily think that everybody should do this, but if you don't want to, then why not? Welcome to the party, sir.
In some of the states, that can be kind of brutal. But there's many states where it's not even a thing, right? It's not even a big problem. So let's assume you're in one of those states and it still has the same divorce rate. It's still high.
Right, but it's not genuinely a contractual agreement. I mean, what happened is that there is this cultural institution called marriage.
Yeah, so Jersey does not even recognize common law marriage. So it was explicitly eliminated in 1939, and couples cannot establish a common law marriage even if they've been living together and presenting themselves as married. This means that couples in committed long-term relationships do not receive the same legal protections as married couples. For example, they're not able to inherit through intestate. I don't think I've ever seen that word, but like succession, like what's the word I'm looking for? Inheritance. There we go. Going to make healthcare decisions, all that kind of stuff. So it's not as big of a deal as Dave is making it out to be. Shout out to Dionysus. Welcome to the party. So the separation of marriage and materialism should be a thing. Okay, well, what exactly do you mean by that? What exactly do you mean by that?
Agreement. I mean, what happened is that there is this cultural institution called marriage, which men have been and women have been engaging in for, from the beginning of civilization.
Totally agree.
And all of the sudden, the rules have switched now. And it's not as if like men, when they get married, sign a contract that says, hey, if this doesn't work out, you get 50% of what I own and all.
Yeah, you do.
The rules will be rigged against me and all of that. All you do is sign a marriage certificate. You may know or you may not know that the rules are rigged against you, but this is not in any meaningful sense like a contract that you entered into.
Sure it is.
I agree with Andrew. That seems kind of like a difference without a differentiation. It's like it's not actually a contract for this thing, but you know that you're signing it and it comes with this thing. What? Make sense. So Dionysus said the separation of marriage and materialism should be a thing. Marriage for the sake of unity and not the ring. Gotcha. Yeah. So you definitely see, and that's a big reason behind a lot of divorces, because people get married for the materialism, for the party, for the clout, for the pictures on Instagram, for the ring, for the house, or whatever else. Besides the idea of staying with one person for your entire life. Completely agreed.
the rules are rigged against you, but this is not in any meaningful sense like a contract that you entered into.
Sure it is. I mean, you're entering into this contract, which is easier to break than a cell phone contract, right? It's easier to break than a cell phone contract.
The difference also
what
is
the incentive
with the cell phone?
So one part of the part that we skipped when they were just talking red pill stuff, they were Dave was saying like, I guess I realized that I've been out of the dating market for so long, something that I talk about with a lot of you guys who are married or in long-term relationships, and we talk about dating, and it'll just be like, especially sometimes the women will be like what are you talking about? I'm like, things have changed a lot since you were single, a lot.
In a cell phone contract, right? It's easier to break than a cell phone contract.
But the difference also
what
is
is the incentive
with a cell phone? You sign a contract that has like
in
all
the
of
marriage.
The
you're signing a contract too. You're signing off on the marriage license and the contractual obligations that come with that.
Okay, in some abstract sense, what I mean is that the standard for say like signing a cell phone contract is that all of the all of the fine print has to be written out on a piece of paper. Now, to your point, no one actually reads that stuff. Fair enough, but I'm just saying none of that's even on a piece of paper for marriage. This is something that politicians just changed, and everyone's kind of embarking on this same old system of what has always been considered marriage, and now all of the chips are
Yeah, but that really only applies to people who were married like before no fault divorce or something. Like I don't know, I don't really know how relevant that is to, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not married, and so my frame of reference for when people of a certain age were typically getting married, maybe that is very relevant. That a lot of us in this demographic, people who would be watching this, would be married before no fault. But that seems a little early. That was what, the 70s? I don't know.
System of what has always been considered marriage, and now all of the chips are.
There's so much information now about what happens to men during divorces. There's so much overwhelming information. You can't get away from it if you wanted to.
So yeah, I was just saying nobody would look at the stuff Dave is talking about until they want a divorce. So I guess that's what he's saying, is that even though the information is there, it's not presented to you, and even though nobody reads the fine print, that is at least presented to you. Fair take. Common sense indeed rules.
They're still signing the contracts because they want access to these chicks. So what I'm asking, I guess, in a non-abstract way, if we were to have libertarian land, right? And by the way, this wasn't me, to be completely honest. One of the chatters that I have, though, said it was only 9 states have common law practice. I knew it was small, but I didn't know how small. So anyway, inside of libertarian land, where you're free to make contractual agreements of any kind, absent coercion, right? What the fuck would actually stop women from drafting this similar style, or vulturous lawyers from drafting up one of these vulture-like contracts, and men who are puppy-eyed and want that poon sign them? I mean, it seems like they do it now, right?
So I get your point, but I think the counter to this, right, is that this is often the critique of libertarianism that you get, right, is that you go like, well, in libertarian land, what would stop you from doing this? But of course, the question is always, compare to what? So yes, perhaps in libertarian land, there could be some women who drew up really awful contracts, but at least in that situation, the man would get to read the contract, go, yo, this woman just wrote up this crazy contract for you. This would stand out as a little bit less than normal. Whereas compared to.
Yeah, so that goes back to what Arjun was saying, that at least if it's there, then it would be pretty typical that you'd be like, hey, that's weird. So there's no quotes, and I didn't say anybody said anything. Oops, read better.
What we have today, it just happens by.
How do you know that I'm not the one saying that if you don't have a Christian marriage, that your marriage is bullshit? How do you know that? Oh, came into a little too hot. Try again.
The normal, whereas compared to what we have today, it just happens by decree from politicians.
So then you know what we're left with?
Everybody, including, now, by the way, I think me and you both have, probably, my guess is, not knowing you that well personally, but my assumption is me and you both have stronger marriages than that, and that wouldn't be the case. But Andrew, just
how many baby daddies she got? Dave's might be a little bit stronger. Shout out to JL. Welcome to the party. Good to see you, brother.
My assumption is me and you both have stronger marriages than that, and that wouldn't be the case. But Andrew, just think about it like this. Me and you have both signed those contracts.
How do you know?
Essentially we have. Yes, we are both married, right?
How do you know? Yeah, what do you mean? Is he not? Is he trying to say he's not married?
Those contracts.
How do you know?
Essentially we have. Yes, we are both married, right?
Yeah.
Both legally married.
Yeah.
So we've essentially agreed to what the rules of this jurisdiction are. By your definition.
I guess it was just a joke.
We've both signed these contracts.
Yeah, but I mean, you got a prenup, right?
Whereas in libertarian land.
Hang on, you got a prenup, right?
No.
What kind of libertarian doesn't get a prenup?
Because you're not really married if you get a prenup, dude. That's not like that's
Ooh.
that's not no. Listen, man.
Ooh, okay, we gotta make that a poll. So far, you guys are 67% in favor of Dave redeeming himself. Even though so far, as much as I love Dave and as much as I don't really like Andrew, again, he is he's making some interesting points. So how do we want to phrase this? Does a prenup invalidate the marriage? Let's just put it that way. You know what we're talking about. Does it like he's, oh, you're not really married if do you, that's the question. Hit the poll. We already know what Arjun thinks. Take
Prenup, right?
No.
What kind of libertarian doesn't get a prenup?
Because you're not really married if you get a prenup, dude. That's not like that's not no. Listen, man. Me and my wife are never breaking up, so it's nothing I have to worry about.
Famous last words of so very many men. Now, again, I don't know what their relationship is like, but every man thinks that. Every man thinks that.
Well, what the hell is marriage then? Why would marriage? Why would you need any sort of contract for a marriage? Why would you even need to go to the state to get married?
Well, I'm not saying you need to go to the state to get married. I'm saying that marriage, to me, the definition of marriage is being all in.
Yeah.
Meaning that there is no what if we break up.
So there's no state
contingency plan.
Sure, state involved.
Well, sure. No, I mean, to the extent.
Well, and yeah, that's a misapplication. I understand where Andrew was coming from, but he was saying that the marriage is just, to me, means that I'm all in. That doesn't mean that by going to the state, I'm not all in. Whereas by Dave's point, if I'm signing a prenup saying that what if we break up, that is me not being all in.
All in.
Yeah.
That there is no what if we break up.
So there's no state.
Yeah, that doesn't fit there.
Sure.
No state involved.
Well, sure. No, I mean, to the extent.
Hey, we got our boy Guam Tech in the building. Welcome to the party. Good to see you, sir.
No state.
Contingency plan. Sure.
No state involved.
Well, sure. No, I mean, to the extent that the state might be involved, it might be because, say, there are certain laws that are written in where you can't get on the same health insurance, you can't be whatever the rules
do all that shit.
Well, it's okay. But regardless, that's not.
Can you? I mean, I'm sure there would be a way to like. That's an interesting question. No, we going chat GPT. Screw Google. Great. Okay, so is there a way to get someone on your healthcare plan? Healthcare plan besides, or let's say if they're not related to you. Getting someone who is not related to you on your healthcare plan can be challenging, as most health insurance plans have specific rules about who can be covered. Here are some options that you might consider. Domestic partner coverage. Some health insurance plans allow you to add a domestic partner, which doesn't necessarily require you to be married. However, you'll need to check if your plan offers this option and what specific things. And we have legal guardianship. That's for kids and stuff. Health insurance marketplace. If adding someone to your employer-sponsored plan isn't possible, the person might be able to get coverage through the health insurance market if you're in the U.S., depending on their income. Short-term individual plans. Interesting. So I didn't even know if that was a thing you could do, but apparently it is. One more reason not to involve the state. Why, again, is Andrew making better libertarian arguments than Dave? Dave, I love you, brother. I love you. What are you doing?
Whatever the rules
do all that shit.
Well, it's okay. But regardless, that's not really the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that if me and you both,
the point that he's making is, I feel like if we're saying this, assigning this thing for if we break up, then you're not really all in. That's all he's saying, and I think that Andrew understands that.
Are married by the state, like legally recognized by the state.
Yep.
We've both signed on to the contract that you're talking about. Whereas in libertarian land, I don't think if we were handed those contracts, we'd have been like, no.
But this is actually a weird.
I don't think our wives would have ever handed us those contracts.
Yeah, but this is a super weird position, though, right? So
so
let me explain.
Sure.
Okay. I believe that covenant marriage is legitimate marriage, and basically all other forms of marriage, I don't even recognize them as being legitimate. I think that they're just basically playing house, right? I don't even recognize them as being legitimate.
So we say like
I don't. As far as being if you're a Christian person, I understand that. I think that's kind of silly, but I do understand that. Of course, you see how many Christian or covenant marriages are BS and people break up and whatever. So I mean, I get that perspective, but I think it should be pretty easy to combat that. And yeah, I mean, get married without a prenup, and it's whatevs. Shout out to Joe. Welcome to the party. So who do you think won both debates? Well, we're just starting now. We just started half an hour ago. So I don't know yet. I definitely Andrew won the last one. I don't know why Dave just gave up arguing anything. He definitely I like Dave a lot more than I like Andrew, but I gotta call it like it is. And he did not do well in the first one, and he doesn't seem to be doing that well here either. I think it has a lot to do with the style that Andrew has. I don't think Dave is really interested in like the getting the clipped moments and the gotchas and the jabs. He's more legitimately looking for just a conversation. Whereas, and this is why I talk about, the difference of when initially I saw the clip of Andrew saying that secular people should not be allowed to procreate. That I was like, oh, let me debate this dude. But again, like I said, I still would because I said I would, and I'm a man on my word. But I don't really see the purpose anymore because it doesn't seem like we're all on the same page. It doesn't seem like we're trying to reach the same goals. Andrew seems like he is just trying to grow his platform and get more attention, which fair, do your thing. But Dave, it seems to be more in line with with myself in terms of goals of trying to actually affect real change in the world. And so I don't know how much of that Andrew really has, but I don't know him nearly as well as I know Dave. So I can always be wrong. Joe said, dude, Andrew is just a high-level debater. He wins even with his dumb opinions. It's hard to disagree with that.
Them as being legitimate. I think that they're just basically playing house, right? I don't even recognize them as being legitimate.
So you say like a Christian marriage or a marriage at
a covenant marriage,
sure.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Those are really the only ones that I'm even willing to recognize. Okay. Now, there's good arguments, I guess you could say, for there's people who are trying to live a reflective life like this who aren't Christians, and we should still recognize those marriages. I still had struggle with recognizing them, though.
Why? Because you have a perception in your head that Christian equals good and secular equals bad. While that may be a correlation that we see currently in 2024, that is a false. That's a false connection. Shout out to Guantech. I love this. And I wouldn't have invited Andrew to my wedding. However, I would pay Dave to be at my wedding. So even though he's not doing great, dilly to Dave. Something tells me Andrew would just shit on the whole day. It's like, God damn it, bro. Like, hey, man, this isn't a real marriage because they're Catholics and not Orthodox or something like that. I don't know. But I'm with you. I'm with you there.
Reflective life like this who aren't Christians, and we should still recognize those.
Which is all the more reason why it's frustrating that Dave is not showing up. Now it's on your own platform, Dave. It's on your own platform.
Marriages. I still had struggle with recognizing them, though, if they're not covenant marriages, meaning you weren't married in the eyes of God. Because for me, it seems like
for me, everything God does is better than you.
no purpose to even getting married unless
is that just a point of clarification? Is that just like for Christianity or like Jewish marriages, Muslim marriages, or something like that?
I even have a hard time, depending on the context, recognizing those, because marriage to me,
because I have the right belief in the thing that you can't falsify or prove. Everyone else who has a similar idea in something that you can't falsify or prove, they're all wrong, but I'm right.
Stupid. Something like that.
I even have a hard time, depending on the context, recognizing those, because marriage to me has really specific criteria. So the criteria for marriage to me is that the man is the head of the marriage, because that is the reflection of Jesus Christ in the church, being the head of the church, and the woman is reflective of the body of the church. Okay, which means that she submits to the man. And that is what that dynamic for marriage is. That's what marriage means in a Christian context. Okay. So,
but again, I know this is not the topic of this particular conversation, but so much is smuggled in on Christian, the church, that you're coming into the discussion already assuming that what I was just making fun of, that you have the right God, that you have the right religion, that you have the right beliefs. I've never seen you even try to explain why you think your ideas or what you believe in are better than, what even Catholics or Protestants or Lutherans or Baptists or whatever it is. And even then, you're just Christianity as a whole. Again, you have to prove that first. And again, not the purpose of this particular debate, so it wouldn't necessarily be super on topic. But never gonna let you forget it. Shout out to Balance Shays. Welcome to the party. Yep, he's got. Well, I mean, I don't know how many kids he has. I think he has one. I think his wife has 3 from 3 different men. I don't remember, but she was definitely a single mom. Now you're a single mom. So, welcome to the party.
Is what that dynamic for marriage is. That's what marriage means in a Christian context. Okay. So if you're not following that dynamic, it doesn't seem like it's real marriage to me. It seems like it's kind of phony baloney marriage, right? And so
it's going back to whoever this dickhead was. Like, oh, clickbait. This is totally misrepresentative of what Andrew said, right? Wait, let's just hear that again.
That dynamic, it doesn't seem like it's real marriage to me. It seems like it's kind of phony baloney marriage.
Okay, so phony baloney and bullshit are completely different things. Gotcha. Shout out to Galactavius. Welcome to the party. Said orthodoxy remains unchanged, so it's very traditional, even more than Catholicism. Okay, fair. I understand what the word means, but how do we know that any of them are correct or relevant to how the universe actually works? That's the question.
Not following that dynamic, it doesn't seem like it's real marriage to me. It seems like it's kind of phony baloney marriage, right? And so there's some marriages in some cultures that, I think I would struggle to recognize. Not saying I wouldn't. I'm just saying it would be a struggle to do so for me. Now, moving into this,
I'm the arbiter of is your marriage real or is your marriage bullshit? It depends on whether you believe in my ideas.
If you were a secularist, if you were a person who didn't believe in God, or even if you were a person who did believe in God, why the fuck would you ever go and get a state marriage anyway? Why would you ever need to do that? Why wouldn't you just go get a covenant marriage, call yourself married, be done with it? Right?
Wait, if you're a secular person, why would you get a covenant marriage? Because you don't believe in what is behind the covenant. I was right there with you. Why would you go to the state? Which is what I was talking about before, just to have the party and live your life the way you want to live your life. Why would I, as an atheist, go to a church and get a covenant marriage? That don't make no sense.
To do that, why wouldn't you just go get a covenant marriage, call yourself married, be done with it? Right? Why would you, Libertarian Dave, ever go to the fucking state and allow the state to marry you? That makes no sense to me. That's like the most anti-libertarian thing I could ever think of, because you just said your criteria for marriage is we're all in. Hell yeah, you're all in. What the hell are you involving the state for? It sounds like that's giving her a way out, right? That's giving her a way out that she wouldn't ordinarily have. So maybe she's not all the way in.
What? She's all the way in, I assure you. But why?
Well, I'm just giving you the logic.
But why would? No. But what's the logic? Why would she have a way out? Because we're legally married. But
money. Because if you're just together and she leaves you, then she's out on her ass. If you're married, then she takes half of your shit. Guantek said, all marriages throughout all of history from every other culture outside of Christianity is fake. Yup. According to Homeboy. Nick said, how is that correct? I don't remember the Bible saying Jesus was married, but whatever. I'm just an evil atheist who he would hate anyway. I mean, I don't think Jesus needed to be married in order for the idea of matrimony itself to be blessed by, you know, some covenant or whatever. But it just it just seems superfluous. I just don't get it. Octavia said, you do that if you're a Christian. If you're a secular person, there's no need to get married. Agreed. Balance said, I would have thought Andrew with his beliefs. I thought he must have married a virgin. I'm shocked. Shocked, I tell you. Yup. She is a reformed hoe. Not anymore. Yeah, she had multiple kids when they got together. And I'm pretty sure Andrew's only been a Christian for the last, like, 2 years or so. So let's not pretend like he's some super expert. Joe said, the issue with the God thing Andrew doesn't talk about is the partner can always leave the religion, so under God doesn't mean much. Exactly. Great point. That, yeah, as long as you believe this, then it's held together by something that you both see as literally holier than thou. But then if you don't believe anymore, like so very many of us, I will remind you, or if you're new here, I was born into the Catholic Church. I was raised in the Catholic Church. We moved over to a Methodist church when I was in middle school. I was confirmed in the Methodist Church, and it wasn't until after I'd gotten to college to where I actually wanted to start learning more about my religion, because all I knew was what they told us on Sundays. And then I read the Bible, and now I'm an atheist. Shout out to Joe. Yeah, I think that's a brilliant point. Brilliant point. And I didn't even really thought of that. Great point.
Logic, but why would no, but what's the logic? Why would she have a way out because we're legally married by the state, but not have a way out if we just said we were married?
Glad you brought that up. Because your kind of criteria here was, well, look, Andrew, when the government interfered and fucked the whole thing up, which it did, I'm not disputing that. Okay, definitely fucked the whole thing up. It was going to be fucked up either way, but they helped fuck it up way faster. Your kind of criteria here is, but all those laws and all of that favors the women. All those laws favor the women. They favor them, right? Oh, okay, great. So they don't favor men, right? So when you say, well, we're all in, right? We're all in because that's a real marriage. And if that's what the criteria of the state is for what a marriage is, then we need to do that. Well, actually, you're giving her the out by your own logic because all the laws conform to her and none of them are good for you. That's my point.
Yeah. Okay. But the counter, that's not me giving her a way out. Certainly, you're right that I'm giving her a more advantageous situation if she were to want to go out.
I like that way better. Even if it is the case that in the future she does end up leaving him, I think the wording there definitely matters. The semantics of you're giving her a way out versus by getting married, she's in a more advantageous if she would want to leave. Slightly different, but a lot more accurate in my personal opinion.
The counter, that's not me giving her a way out. Certainly, you're right that I'm giving her a more advantageous situation if she were to want to go out.
Why?
But I don't care because I know she's not going anywhere.
Well, right. No, I understand. Listen, I'm not beating up.
Just to be clear here, I would sign a piece of paper tomorrow that goes, if my wife ever wants to leave me, she gets 1,000% of everything I own, and she gets because she's not going anywhere.
It's definitely my bias because I know that this is the attitude that marriage used to be about, whether you were super religious or not. But I just don't live in that world, bro. I just can't get behind that.
She gets 1,000% of everything I own, and she gets because she's not going anywhere, because we're together forever. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying that as in my particular marriage, that doesn't matter.
I mean, so like Octavia is saying, better get ready for a rude awakening. I do think it's absolutely fair that, if you know what I mean? I think there's... I don't think it's just because you just because you believe that your marriage is solid doesn't mean that it's not solid. You know what I mean? And I think that I don't think we have enough to say, like, bro, like if we knew who his wife was and what she was doing, and she was on Instagram doing this and that and whatever, but he's already famous. He was already about to run for president. He's already had been in the public eye, and I think I don't know if he said it already, or I think he's talking about around this time that he was broke when they met. So it's not like he was protecting a lot of assets anyway. But yeah, I think it's a little bit naive to think that it can't happen to you. And it's scary. It's scary out there, man. It's scary. Shout out to Orange and Slinky. Welcome to the party. So I lived in that world. She filed for divorce after 35 years of marriage. We were 60 years old when she filed. Damn. I am sorry to hear that, brother. Damn. It terrifies me. Since I've talked to you guys a bit about how, I didn't have a great family dynamic. And since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be a dad. I've always wanted to be a husband. I've always wanted that. But again, looking when I was a kid, maybe if I had been an adult in the 90s, to the tail end of before, this third wave feminism really kicked up, maybe. But you never know. So we gotta be balanced. This can absolutely happen to anybody, but that doesn't mean that it is going to happen just because they think that their marriage is good. Shout out to Zippy DSM Lee. Welcome to the party. Said a prenup is just smart for all involved. Yeah, I mean, I think it makes it easy to just I don't like, you get life insurance, you get car insurance, you get health insurance. How is this any different? Hey, shout out to Zippy with the Rumble rant. Thank you so much. And of course, every donation comes with a treat for my co-host, Morty. Welcome. Look, who else do we got? I guess, I'm going to say that. Welcome to the party. Yeah, I bet that's, that I'm sorry to hear that, man. Dilly to you. We were just talking about how last night in the after party about how men are absolutely the true romantics. I don't want to put anybody's business out there, but somebody was just talking about how they were engaged to somebody and they thought everything was good, and then she went and visited. She went on a trip and fucked somebody. It's like, oh, come on, man. And I'm sure she's married now. And he's still, I don't know if crushed is the right word, but he's jaded is the word that he used, and it's tough. So, I've never gone 35 years deep, but I have been in a 3-year relationship. So for whatever that's worth, that's my frame of reference. But I was also 17, so maybe I don't know why I'm making a comparison. Trying to break the awkwardness. Arjun said Dave is probably biased, being against prenups because he was married when he didn't have money. If he was getting married now, he would think differently. Absolutely, no question. I think I would. I don't know if this comes up, but I would hope that Andrew would ask that. That would be a great question. If if he wasn't married and it was the same chick, but they were getting married right now, with all of the assets that he has from his career. Even though he did just say, I'd sign a contract that 1,000% of whatever I have goes to her. I think that's naive. You just you do not know what's going to happen. And especially over a lifetime. Like he's what, 45 maybe? Like, I mean, you do not know what's going to happen over the next 30 years. You just don't know. And I mean, I don't even mean to make it dark, but he cites, having his son as the main reason why he didn't end up running for president. Like, just off the top of my head, let's say that, mom is out doing whatever, Dave's watching the kid, and they get into a horrible car accident, and the kid dies. And she now just cannot look at him without seeing and thinking about the death of her child. How do you know that's not going to happen, bro? Nobody's saying she's an evil person. Nobody's saying you're an evil person. But you don't know that that's not going to happen, and that's just one thing that I pulled off the top of my head. Glocktavius said the sad thing is that when you talk to men about this, they never listen, and they always say, "Not my girl." Always somebody else. It's always somebody else, and that's why as far down the drain the red pill community has gone, I cannot ever say that I didn't learn very, very, very important things from some of those creators. And I mean, the manosphere died the day that Kevin Samuels did. R.I.P. But even other people, even fresh and fit, I've learned some important things from them, as much as they are, again, down the drain these days. But yeah. Yep. It's hard to, you just, we all think we look at women with these rose-colored glasses, and it's just because it's ingrained in us, and they just are I don't know, they're built different. They're built different.
Matter. I'm just saying that as in my particular marriage, that doesn't matter. In general, if you put the incentives like that in front of society, then yes, you're going to get more women abusing that than you otherwise would.
Especially if they have narcissism, right?
Huh?
Especially if they're suffering from narcissism, where
Sure,
they're
but
told
that's what
by
you
all
wanna-
the women in society, hey, if your guy's getting a little fat and a little bit lazy, time to trade up, girl.
No,
Time to
listen,
go. Girl
no,
power. Time to
So-
trade
so
up, girl.
To be clear, I would sign that agreement with my wife because I know her and we're all in together.
Yeah, I get
I
it.
don't think enforcing that by law across a nation would be a healthy recipe for success.
Yeah,
Does
but
that
I
make
want.
sense?
Yeah, but I think. So I'm sorry, I got to say this, but I think that's a very gynocentric take from my position. So
How
what
so?
makes it? I'll explain.
I don't know if it's gynocentric. That seems like a little bit of a buzzword there. Just be like, you're a woman. I think it's naive, but I don't see how it's gynocentric. But maybe he said he'll explain, so maybe I'm wrong.
I'm sorry, I got to say this, but I think that's a very gynocentric take from my position. So
How
what
so?
makes it? I'll explain. What makes it a gynocentric take is I'm all in and she's all in, but I'm the one signing the piece of paper that says she gets 1,000% of everything. What does she sign?
She'd sign the same thing.
And this is in the abstract. I'm sure she would, right? The only reason I'm using you is because I'm trying to kind of articulate how I see things, and you're the example because you're right in front of me.
Sure.
So anyway,
So then wouldn't it be better to use an example of somebody who did think that they were going to be together forever and then didn't?
I would say here is the risk, though, the entirety of the risk is yours to take here. Whereas you don't actually have to involve the state. And I think you as a libertarian would say, do not involve the state in your marriage because that's not what marriage is about. It has nothing to do with the material conditions that the state offers you as a bribe to sign a fucking contract so that she can take half your shit and your kids, right?
So to be clear, she could take the kids either way, legally speaking. That's not going to change. And that also is fucked up. But I'm just saying that's not changing whether you're married or
likely. It's less likely.
So again, I think I think we're running, or Dave is running into the same type of problem that he did in the last debate, is that he's letting Andrew run the show, and he's just kind of on his heels and responding. And Andrew's very good at pushing a message, and the message that I want to push is that your libertarian marriage is not as strong as you think it is. And that, because of the fact that it's not, a covenant marriage or whatever the you know what I mean? He's trying to push his narrative, and he's looking at what Dave is saying instead of trying to build a discussion for them both to have a better understanding of where they come from. He's trying to just look at the points where you're wrong there, you're wrong there, you're wrong there, you're wrong there, you're wrong there. And like, okay, cool. But like, what did we learn from that? Shout out to Christian Packard. Welcome to the party. He said Andrew's a pro debater. He can't even hold water in the same conversation as Andrew. And I mean, again, as I was just saying, I don't necessarily disagree, but I think it's less about, oh, he can't do this or that. I think it's that he's not trying to win anything, whereas Andrew is trying to win. And this is specifically supposed to be more of a what's the timestamp here? 1:12:15. So when they started, problem again.
A new episode, part of the problem. I'm very happy to have joined me on this episode, Andrew Wilson. Andrew is the host of the Crucible and he is also a regular on the Whatever podcast.
Fine, what did you say? Say the
As I'm sure me and Andrew did a debate on the Crucible just recently, and on the show we talked about continuing it in more of a conversational format. So that's what we're going to do tonight.
So that's what I'm saying, is that, like, yes, he lost that debate. He lost that debate because he wasn't trying to have a debate. And was it 12-15 or 15-12? It was 12-15. And so it's not necessarily one is just automatically better than the other. If we're looking at just debating, then yes, Andrew is a better debater. But what does that do for anybody if the only purpose of debating is to get your own platform higher? You know what I mean? It's a versus, though. It's in the title. There's going to be a winner in a versus. Yeah. I mean, there's not. There's a versus in my title because I put it there, but it just says the Crucible with Andrew Wilson, part of the problem. We are having a conversation, you know? So, I mean, again, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just adding the context that, yes, you could have somebody who is extremely beneficial to society, who is not a good debater. And then, oh, well, then, you know why. And so, again, I just showed you specifically, they wanted to, they specifically, or David specifically wanted to take it out of that context of let's see who wins and let's explore these ideas. Those are two different things. And so if we're looking at it as a debate, and that's it, then yes, Andrew wins. But if we're looking at it as spreading ideas that are important to improving society, then I don't think that he's done anything. I don't think winning a debate automatically does that. And I think that's an important distinction. Glocktavius said the advantage Andrew has is his RP knowledge. I think Dave is hearing Andrew's talking points for the first time, hence showing his blue pill mindset. Yeah, so right, I think right in the part that I skipped when we were saying that, and he was like, I didn't even realize how big the Whatever podcast was. You're absolutely right. He's just not in that world. And then again, we were talking about before about how things have shifted so quickly over the last 15 or so years that he doesn't know what this current dating landscape is like. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Andrew was talking earlier in the part that we completely skipped over when they were just talking about women and stuff, that he was also somebody who had a similar type of perspective of like, oh, what is this? All women aren't like that. And then he got more into it and learned that, like, oh, these bitches be crazy. So again, I mean, yes, Andrew is a great debater. Full stop. I'll say it full screen. Andrew Wilson, the Crucible, is a great debater. I have no issue saying that. So we're not. We don't have to relitigate that. What I'm concerned about is spreading important ideas that improve society. And I don't think that Andrew does that, whether he wins or loses. Arjun said, I wouldn't even say Dave is blue pill. Me neither. Me neither. It's just, the blue pill mindset, I'm going to say Glocktavius was saying as opposed to a red pill mindset. But so I wouldn't even say Dave is blue pill. I don't think he's ever heard talking points that Andrew is making. The contrast of marriage and his libertarian views don't align. The contrast of marriage and his libertarian views don't align. Yeah. And it's because his marriage is not all marriages. And even if it does turn out that for some reason she ends up leaving him, that still doesn't change the fact that an individual instance is not the same thing as a balance of probabilities. Christian, the thing is just like Destiny said, Andrew knows the fundamentals of logic and of interpersonal dynamics, so Dave is out of his element. Because the very premise of marriage is a contract that is that is based on a transcendental premise, not state-based. You get married for it to be a transcendent relationship, not a human one. If you are a Christian, that is not, marriage is a legal thing. Now, you absolutely can think of it this way, but that is not the only way to have a marriage. As you said, is a contract, and it is a legal contract. So while many people may believe that what supersedes the legal aspect is the transcendental divinity, whatever you want to call it, but the fact of the matter is that it is absolutely a legal thing. And if you are not in the belief of whatever covenant you're talking about, then it absolutely is just a legal document. Okay. Like I said, I just answered that.
She can take half your shit and your kids, right?
So to be clear, she could take the kids either way, legally speaking. That's not going to change. And that also,
again, I don't disagree. I have no plans on getting married.
was fucked up, but I'm just saying that's not changing whether you're
Less
married or
likely.
not.
It's less likely.
So you don't think that people had this notion of being together for a lifetime before Christianity? Or people were paired for life before Christianity? Because what we call things after the fact is completely irrelevant. The idea that people have paired up and saying that this is a unit that I want to maintain for the rest of my life, that is a ancient historical thing that has nothing to do with religion. Religion just slapped on top of that. Oh, now we're the arbiters of whether your matrimony is holy or not. So no.
And that also is fucked up, but I'm just saying that's not changing whether you're
less
married or
likely.
not.
It's less likely if you have a marriage where she goes to the judge and says, well, I was a homemaker for 13.
There's no such thing as Jewish marriage? Was there such a thing as marriage before Christianity? Oh, yes. Marriage existed before Christianity by thousands of years. So the Christian definition, yes, has to do with God, but that's my entire point, that only within that context. And so that's why you must first determine that this is a real thing, that Christianity is a real thing. Right. What are we talking about? Wait. Yeah. So, hold on. They were just together. Holy matrimony. Okay. I don't. What is the I don't understand what you're like. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but what's the bottom line here? Shout out to King Nirvana. Welcome to the party. Good to see ya.
Likely. It's less likely if you have a marriage where she goes to the judge and says, well, I was a homemaker for 13 years and I was never properly compensated. And now it's time for me to get the kids.
No,
and he has to go to work.
More likely that she could get your wealth. I don't know if it's any more or less likely to get the kids. I think you're
No, it is. I'll explain how. I'll explain how it's more likely. So what happens is,
bite your tongue, King. As much as I love Dave over Andrew, it's not looking good. It's not looking good so far. It's not looking good.
They say I was Betty Crocker. Okay. He went and worked every day. I sacrificed everything. I sacrificed my hopes, Your Honor, and my dreams and everything I could have been for this man. That's what I did. And he doesn't even want me to have shared. He won't give me full custody of the kids. And all he has to do is do the same thing he's been doing. But I'm the one who has to make the adjustment in life. I now have to go get a job. This is horrible on me.
Shout out to Ayush Gupta. Welcome to the party. So there's definitely a Hindu marriage, and that is way older than Christianity. And so, you know, the idea that marriage is only marriage because it is in in a covenant is just not how it's just not how it plays out. Like you can decide that you personally aren't going to accept these legal contracts. That doesn't mean they don't exist. In the same way that you can decide, oh, I don't accept that legal contract. Well, the court sure as shit will. And then we could say, well, I don't believe in your religion. And then what's the court going to say about that? Sounds very illegal. Yeah, no. Covenant under God is what? Who's we? Yeah, who's we? I mean, you know, that's exactly the point. That if it's supposed to be so transcendent and it's under God, then it cannot be broken. But here we have a person right here who for 35 years was in that covenant. And it still did nothing. Indeed. Shout out to the lead attorney, 20-year divorce attorney, doing the damn thing. We also got Justin Crumley in the building. Welcome to the party. So my wife and I did not get a prenup. We know we're committed to each other forever. I get that a lot of guys may say that, but that doesn't invalidate my situation. Completely agree. This is why what I was saying to Gloctavius, that just because you don't think that your marriage can that something can go wrong in your marriage doesn't mean that it will. I still think that this is a more naive than not position, because the example I gave before, again, started to get a little bit dark, but with Dave, they have Dave and his wife have a young son, and so who's to say that one day Dave is driving his son around and they get in a car accident and the son unfortunately dies and Dave doesn't. And the wife is still there. And now every time she looks at Dave, all she can see is her son. And all she can think about is losing her son. And then she's like, I can't be with you anymore. That's not like some, crazy, evil, narcissistic woman thing. That's a very reasonable thing. Now, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that's maybe try counseling first, but that's life. That's life, and you don't know. But at the same time, it absolutely doesn't invalidate anybody's situation. Everybody's situation is different. And when we talk about these things on a balance of probabilities, we have to understand that we're talking about statistics versus when we're talking about an individual. Yeah, not a fan of faith. So there you go.
But I'm the one who
you know who else has faith? Suicide bombers.
has to make the adjustment in life. I now have to go get a job. This is horrible on me. And they get awarded this so much, David, it will blow your fucking mind.
No. I'm not. Listen, it doesn't blow my mind. I know a lot of people who have been through this situation, and there's no question, like, especially in divorce court where like everyone's a woman, like you go into everyone involved, including the judge, is a woman. I'm just saying that even if you were never legally married by the state, you're still going to have a very tough time if you're in a custody battle. But the point,
not with a prenup. You can get some prenups.
Even with prenup.
Do you know that 80? So James Sexton, he's an attorney. He's a divorce attorney out of New York. A good friend of mine. I talk to him all the time. Great guy. I
think I've seen this guy all over TikTok. If it's the guy that I'm thinking of, I am not surprised that he's friends with Andrew.
Written books on this very topic, on how to stay married and then kind of the legal in and outs, right? I think he said it's like 80% of prenuptial agreements are enforced to the letter. Almost all. Oh, the overwhelming majority.
80 is not that great for a contractual agreement, but better than
a business agreement. Sure. Better than business agreements. Yeah.
Better? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and as far as partnership agreements go, when you have like all sorts of contractual.
See, that's a good moment right there. That's a good moment right there where you can see that Dave is not trying to dunk on Andrew. He's just trying to have a conversation. And if you're judging the conversation on how well of a debate it is, which is precisely why Andrew and myself, for that matter, titled the videos that way. But it's specifically, we specifically said, I don't want to engage in that kind of discourse. I want to have a conversation with you. And you can be the greatest debater in the world. But if you can't have a normal conversation, if you can only debate, then what are you good for? Justin says, I see your point in that very specific scenario of the car crash. But even that scenario you gave, the wife is not actually committed if her answer is to leave the marriage. Right. But having not gone through that scenario, you don't know right now if she's committed enough to be with you, given that this scenario doesn't happen. But if the scenario does happen, then she has always been not committed, as you are saying. That's the point, is that you can't predict the future. You can't predict the future.
Is that better? Oh, okay.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, and as far as partnership agreements go, when you have like all sorts.
Yeah. I want to see this where he was like,
for a contractual agreement, but
so he throws that out. Something that if you're in a debate, like, do I know this? I'm not going to say this unless I know this. Like, well, I mean, whatever. And then look how easily he just takes it back.
It's better than a business agreement.
Sure.
Better than business agreements.
Is that better? Is that better? Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. So if this was supposed to be a debate, then that would be a very weak moment. But it's not a debate. It's a conversation. Shout out to Drake Tears Taste Great. Welcome to the party. Not clicking on links today, but welcome.
It's better.
Unless Zippy, if you want to check that out and see what it
Better
is.
than business agreement.
Sure.
Better than business agreements.
Is that better? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and as far as partnership agreements go, when you have like all sorts of contractual conditions, I think that he said that those fail around 40. It's like a 40% failure, right? So it's even higher. So it's like, it seems like the best advantage that you would have then to offset this would be for both you and the wife to just sign a prenup and then have a backyard wedding, call yourself married, and be done with the whole thing.
Again, that's my plan. That's the plan.
Well, look, to be clear here, I don't like if somebody just did that and had a backyard wedding and declared themselves married, I wouldn't feel like I'm any more married than.
That would be interesting. Yeah, sorry, Drake. I am on YouTube, so we obviously can't play any music. But Octavius, you are onto something. You are onto something. Because I think that it would gravely improve Andrew's career. Because again, and all anybody can say about this guy is that, yeah, just like really want to get into the heart of things instead of looking for dunks. Exactly. That's all anybody can say about Andrew is that he's so good at debating and he can take down anybody. Well, what if you don't want to be in a situation where either you're taking somebody down or being taken down? Does that make you weak? Does that make you dumb? I don't think it does. Hey, shout out to our boy, the Funk Master General. Welcome to the party with a $10 super chat. And let's get Morty his treat for every donation. Thank you so very, very much, sir. Welcome to the party. Very interested to see what you are going to have to say about this. All right, let's dive back in. And of course, no question, no comment, just pure love of the game, making you the new sponsor of the stream. Before we dive back in, we also got Sandy in the building. Welcome. So nothing is absolute. People change. But one thing is for sure, that the family court is there to catch the woman as her safety net, regardless of what change she makes. Men don't get that default setting. Indeed. Welcome. And thank you again, the Funk Master General.
And declared themselves married, I wouldn't feel like I'm any more married than they are because I have a state certificate or whatever. I just my thing is that if there was anyone. So by the way, I should also probably just full disclosure. So
before they go on to that, why did Andrew agree with that? Because his whole thing so far has been about how he's more married, to use Dave's word, not his own, but he's more married than everybody else because it's the covenant marriage. So why does he agree?
I declared themselves. I don't like if somebody just did that and had a backyard wedding and declared themselves married, I wouldn't feel like I'm any more married than they are.
And Andrew absolutely would, but
because I have a
right. Yeah. No. What do you mean? Right. This whole time you've been saying the only real marriage is a covenant marriage. So if somebody just decides that they're married, how are they not less married than you in your perspective? I agree with Dave. I agree that it's just a matter of two people deciding. I don't think there is a God to appeal to. I think it's just two people making that decision and sticking to it. But I thought his whole thing was that is the downfall of society and all that kind of stuff. King said, you would think you'd want the best of both worlds, but usually one gets picked. Yeah, it's hard. It's tough, because I definitely feel like for myself that I'm definitely somebody who is looking for the conversations that move things forward, that do something. But I also am not opposed to getting very heated and very passionate. And it's not easy for a lot of people to balance. And like you said, usually you're either a very good conversationalist or you're a very good debater. It's rare that you find people who are good at both and not only are good at both, but know when to employ the conversational style versus the debate style. So it's you're definitely right there. Orange and Slinky said, women live by this. Quote, a woman has the right to change her mind about anything at any time for any reason as many times as she wants to. Yup. That's feminism for you. Justin said, sure, but that's part of the commitment is that you accept that you both may change, but you still say married to them. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be. But I think the point that what we're saying here is that whether it's a covenant marriage or it's not a covenant marriage, this is what it's supposed to be. And whether it's a covenant marriage or it's not a covenant marriage, sometimes it doesn't work out the way that you plan it. Christians, did I miss something? Because their marriage is founded on nothing, just subjectivity. I would argue so are Christian marriages. Just because you believe that there's something else there doesn't mean that there is. So, you know. Gontek said, I had the backyard wedding. There you go. Cheaper, more intimate, and everyone was way more comfortable. Plus, it was during the height of COVID. I take a cheapo wedding over any overpaid church wedding any day. I said, shit, me too. Dilly. Okay, Nirvana said, I think Dave is good. You do things well. You are good. So he is good at both, but maybe biased. I'm equally as biased with you because I mean, you know, I didn't see the entire thing, the Israel debate where he was like with Cenk Uygur and Dennis Prager and Laura Loomer, but that got damn heated, and he definitely knows his shit about that. And again, this marriage type stuff, this should not be the conversation. You should be even like Andrew was using marriage as a framework to talk about Christianity versus libertarianism. But this is a bad example for Dave because Dave doesn't have the knowledge of how the dating landscape works because he's been out of it so long. So even if he has the ability to represent his libertarian ideals in general, in this context, he's not able to. And that is, it's frustrating that it doesn't recognize that and be like, let's get off of marriage. Let's talk about the economy. Let's talk about war and how Christian nationalism or libertarianism would affect that. That is his wheelhouse. And so knowing where you not only that you could do both, but where to imply both and where you're somebody else is trying to get you to do the one that you're not trying to do. So there's a lot going on. Shout out to Justin. There you go. Backyard wedding. That's the way to go. Especially when the women don't suffer consequences for her change of mind because it's subsidized. Indeed. Arjit said, Murphy's Law applies to marriage. It isn't a shocker that divorce rates steadily increase. People obviously change over time, and half the people don't value commitment. Yep. It is sad. All right, let's dive back in here.
Declared themselves married, I wouldn't feel like I'm any more married than they are because I have a state certificate or whatever. I just my thing is that if there was anyone. So by the way, I should also probably just full disclosure. I should mention this. I didn't really have any money when I got married. I just started making money when I first started dating my wife, like a little bit of money, and
already did. And I suggest everybody watch Destiny's breakdown of the first debate. I think it was really good. I agree. It is good. Another backyard wedding. There we go. I thought you said it was for 24 hours, which is still 24 years. Great years. Now I'm glad you got those years. I just thought you said. I thought it said 24 hours. I was like, damn. But still, dilly to the fallen. I mean, I don't know what would be worse. I'm really sorry to hear that. We getting down in the dumps today. I'm gonna have to lighten it up. We partying. No, we good. Context, we used all the money we saved to have a kick-ass honeymoon. There you go. I'm just happy the wife was satisfied and that we will always remember our wedding week for the rest of our lives. Beautiful.
making money when I first started dating my wife, like a little bit of money, and she was totally in love with me, but had nothing to do with the money. And I've made
So Justin said, if you you know, because we asked this question before, and it was something like what 90% of you. Do I still have it here? So we did. Does a prenup invalidate the marriage? Basically, kind of what you're saying, and 90% of people said no, that it does not. It does not affect it at all. But to each their own. To each their own.
And she was totally in love with me, but had nothing to do with the money. And I've made a decent amount since we've been married. But so a prenup wouldn't have even like been necessary in my situation. But even for friends of mine who I know who are like single now, who have money, if they were like, hey, I'm marrying a chick, but I feel like I got to get her to sign a prenup, my instinct on that is already to be kind of like, dude, if you're even a little bit concerned that she might try to leave you and take your money, just don't marry this chick.
Yeah, but that's such a weird position to say on the one hand that the state is super coercive and biased towards men when it comes to this institution of marriage, but at the same time don't combat the state by doing a private contract. That seems totally counterintuitive to your position.
Well, to be clear, no, I don't think it is. I'm not saying that there's something evil about a prenup, and I'm not saying that like,
why does he keep saying it like that?
What I'm saying is that on an individual basis, if you are marrying someone and you feel like there's a decent chance that they may take advantage of the state's fucked up rules, that's probably not someone you should be marrying.
I just disagree in the wholeheartedly in the sense that it's not about this person is going to do. It's just people do things. And as much as you might know about a person, you cannot know who they are post marriage. Even if they've already been married, you can't know what they're like post being married to you. Sandy's going hard, saying bad men don't have the liability shield to dodge accountability. When bad men do bad, it's all over, and other men would condemn her, would condemn him. When bad women do bad, the sisterhood comes to the rescue.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, very, 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 very on point. No, you're good. I'm just trying to make light. But I appreciate you sharing with us. Orange said, balanced went to the death till death do you parts. We Christians say we believe that. Yeah, you say you do. Maybe you personally do, but again, a lot of these covenant marriages are part of that 60 and rising percent of marriages that do not last. So that's the question. That's the question that I would want to ask Andrew. If this covenant thing even though he kind of just glossed over it when Dave was like, well, I wouldn't think I'm any more married just because somebody else did a backyard marriage and didn't get a marriage certificate or isn't on a covenant marriage. And Andrew was like, yeah. Even though he absolutely has stated many times that he does think he's more married. It's I don't know. It's just odd that he's so on the same token that, like, how do you know that your girl isn't going to leave you just like she left all her baby daddies? How many baby daddies does Mrs. Smith have? Less than Mrs. Wilson. Just saying.
Take advantage of the state's fucked up rules. That's probably not someone you should be marrying. Does that make sense?
Not really. So
So Justin said, I think it's different than insurance. I'm not committing to keep the same car for the rest of my life unconditionally, but you are committing to keep driving for the rest of your life, or at least, you know, until you get as long as you're able. So, I mean, I hear you. Let's say, and also to be clear, my ideal situation would be that the state would be out of the business of marriage altogether. This is a church institution and should be left that way. But here we are. Yep. And 169 agrees with Sandy's. It's true, which is why when a case pops up of a woman taking advantage of a man, a man actually doesn't go her way, it shocks us. What?
That's probably not someone you should be marrying. Does that make sense?
Not really. So, I mean, because here's the thing, because all you're doing then, I think you're feeding into the gynocentrism of the man takes all the risk. You don't take any fucking risk, right?
See, but again, it's not coming from that. It's not coming from, well, I don't think that you should marry that woman because she should. That's not where he's coming from. It's just a naive perspective that if you think that something bad could happen, then that is an indictment of the person that you are marrying. And that's just not his position. That's just not his position. And he's been pretty clear about it. And this is where again it comes in that Andrew can bowl over and make the point of how important prenups are and get credit. But what else are you doing except getting credit? Thank you for hanging out. You have a good one. Funkmaster General said, I am the product of parents that should have been divorced but wouldn't. Oh, interesting. That brings up a whole other dynamic of this. Maybe there are situations, and again, you even saying this, obviously, you know your life a lot better than I do, but we don't actually have the counterfactual. We don't actually have the counterfactual, and so just speaking generally, a lot of situations that you might think would be better staying together might be better divorced, and vice versa. That you think it would have been better divorced, but it was actually better. It would have been even worse if they got divorced. And so trying to just be like, oh, well, as long as God's in it, then you're good, is silly. It's silly. And that's, I think, the conversation that's not being had because of the fact that Andrew just wants to hammer home any point that he can make that makes him look good. He's not wrong, but he's just right about the things that he's saying, and that's it. Christian said, compartmentalization ruins the wisdom that is being poured out here. What do you mean by that? Arn said, I still believe in God, but sadly, I don't believe in women now. I heard that. I mean, I don't believe in either one of them, but, I hear that for sure. Damn.
Does that make
no, I
sense?
don't. Not really. So, I mean, because here's the thing, because all you're doing then, I think you're feeding into the gynocentrism of the man takes all the risk. You don't take any fucking risk, right? The state is going to side on behalf of. So here's the thing. You can agree with me.
Well, the answer, King, is because this is good for the Crucible brand. That's it. That's it. There's no benefit to anybody except Andrew and anybody who works for Andrew. That's what he's after. And that is fine. But that's a different thing than Dave is doing.
The state is going to side on behalf of. So here's the thing. You can agree with me that you can be with the perfect woman.
Good
you can be madly in love with her. You know, in your heart of hearts, she's in love with you. And in 6 years, she leaves your ass. It can happen. Right. There's not. And the thing is you've known guys this has happened to. I've known guys that this has happened to. It happens to good people all the time.
Okay,
sometimes it's just a switch is flipped.
But
so why would you ever give them the advice? So why would you ever give the advice then, knowing that the laws of the state are going to fall to the woman, to tell men not to get a prenup? That's crazy.
Well, to be clear,
I don't think he told men not. Did he? Okay, yeah, he kind of did. Okay, I take that back. He did kind of say it. He didn't say don't get a prenup. He just said if you think you need a prenup with that woman, then don't marry her. Again, the misunderstanding that the prenup is not about her. It's about the concept of people changing. That you are a person and people change, and I am a person and people change. Therefore, who we are today may not be who we are in 50 years. And given the fact that divorce is an option, and one can choose that option without the permission of the other, and without the state or the church or whatever stepping in, then you would want that protection.
That the laws of the state are going to fall to the woman, to tell men not to get a prenup. That's crazy.
Well, to be clear, my advice wasn't that you should marry this chick anyway without it. I go, if there's a concern about that, my advice was don't marry this chick.
And again, just to hammer it home, it's not about this chick or that chick. It's about people. Arjun said prenup is an asset protection. Has nothing to do with her until and unless she leaves. It's, yeah. Oh, how much did, God damn it. How much did Kevin, it's got to be here. Costner's wife make in the divorce? $63,000 a month. Now, Hollywood marriages are kind of a different flavor than anything else, Christian or anything else. But still, once you're not going into marriage thinking, I'll change him or I'll fix her, you are doomed. Agreed. I don't think that's what Dave is saying either. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think that's what Dave is saying. But I think he's misunderstanding again the reason that a man in general should want a prenup is not about the woman. It's about women. It's about people. She wanted. I'm gonna assume you mean 250,000. That is wild. That is wild. What the? I genuinely do not know what I would do with that much money. I don't want that much stuff. I mean, yeah, like, okay, so first thing is that, I mean, I own this place. So, I mean, I do want to get out of Jersey, but so that would probably be the first thing is move, to somewhere warm, guns and weed. That's the first thing. Then make sure one of the rooms I can use as my studio, set everything up the way I need it, get that pretty face. Get that pretty face. What are we doing? There we go. Get some new equipment, get some new cameras. But then, like, I'm a small dude. I don't eat that much. Watch TV, get some Netflix or Apple TV, rotate them. Don't even need to get all the same services at the same time. And she didn't even earn it. $250,000 a month. Get the fuck out of my face. Sandy said prenup and paternity test. Let's not forget about that. Gotta have some counterculture tools to the women entitlement of never being held accountable. Agreed. It looks like Orange does as well.
Marry this chick anyway without it. I go, if there's a concern about that, my advice was don't marry this chick. But to say, I actually don't agree that there's like these relationships that were perfect and you were totally right. And then a flip switched and she became this cold-hearted bitch who would ruin your entire life. I think
that absolutely happens.
We're probably
it happened to me in 2020. I mean, I wasn't married, obviously, but she literally on a dime. I was blowing her back out. And then 2 days later, she thought I was a loser because I was texting her too much or something. Women are fickle. This was before I knew what was good. This was when I was still in my Disney phase.
Flip switched and she became this cold-hearted bitch who would ruin your entire life. I think there were probably many red flags that you were ignoring all throughout that.
I agree. Love is blind, as they say. And the truth of the matter is I've seen a lot of dudes go into some relationships with some chicks where I'm like, what are you, fucking retarded?
Shout out to Love is Blind, my favorite reality dating show. But that's a good point. That even if the red flags are there, it's like, homie, you ain't seen them. We've all been in the position where we've looked back and be like, well, God damn, how did I not see that the single mother who was 3 weeks out of a long-term relationship with a guy who was not her baby daddy and found me on Facebook dating and was obsessed with me for 2 weeks. Maybe she's not all there. Does she have a relationship with her family? Does she know her dad? But she's pretty and she's got milky skin and green eyes and she's got a tattoo of Circa Survive. I love Circa Survive. And she touched my pee-pee. How many times have we all been there? We've all been there. Orange said, so why do people who are not religious get married at all nowadays? Tax benefits. Again, it's a legal thing. There's a lot, you heard a lot, especially during COVID, about how people were not allowed to be with their loved ones as they were dying because they weren't technically married. Things like that. It's just practical. It's just practical based on the laws. So even if you don't believe in the holy matrimony aspect of it, it has now become secularized, and I think that is a benefit. I think that is a benefit because secularity, people being secular, is only increasing and is only going to continue increasing. And we want people to follow these generally Enlightenment, classical liberal, Judeo-Christian type values, whatever you want to call them. We want people to act right. And so even if you don't believe in the God, then you need a culture to determine what is right and wrong. PP touch every time. The power of the boner. The power of the boner. Every time.
I look, I agree. You know, love is blind, as they say. And the truth of the matter is I've seen a lot of dudes go into some relationships with some chicks where I'm like, what are you, fucking retarded? But
well, yes, but
the thing is, yeah, they are being stupid because love is blind.
Okay, so then my advice would be don't be stupid.
But the thing is like, to kind of
yeah, don't be stupid. Just know the things that you don't know before you don't know them. What? Come on, Dave. Come on. And whoever called out Destiny, yeah, Destiny was on point. That like I did not know that Dave was not a very philosophically sound person. He's very good with the hard facts of what happened here, and then this happened, and this people did this, and that affects that, and all that stuff. He's great with it. But even this is a very low level philosophy, and he can't hang. And it's really, really, really disappointing.
Love is blind.
Okay, so then my advice would be don't be stupid.
But the thing is like to kind of the kind of point like,
oh, whoa, what is this? So the question was why people who are not religious want married all day, get married nowadays. And Christians said because deep down they want something that transcends themselves. People can act like God doesn't exist, but they can't live their lives out as if he doesn't. I think I'm an example of that. How am I living as if God exists? I don't think I am. But I mean, to each their own. You must learn to resist the boner. It's hard.
Don't be stupid.
But the thing is like kind of the kind of point like, no. I'm kind of a threshold above. I have so much trust, and my wife has so much trust that we don't even care. I never even have to worry about it. It's like, okay, maybe, I guess.
Right.
But
maybe,
I think for the vast, overwhelming majority of men, that is not going to be the case. And the numbers seem to bear out that that's not going to be the case. So advising men in modernity, especially, look, man, if you're going to get married, one, you probably shouldn't involve the state, and you should have a covenant marriage. And two, you probably should have a prenup. And the thing is a lot of times churches will advise against prenups. And I say I would still get a prenup because they're not with the times. They don't really understand.
So again, I mean, maybe this is what Dave's about to bring up. So, okay, well then why, if the church is against it and you're for the church, then why are you going against the church? Valid question.
Against prenups. And I say I would still get a prenup because they're not with the times. They don't really understand how bad it is out there. But I would still get one.
Is a prenup for men who are coming in with like huge sums of money?
No, it's with no money. The thing is men often will make their money while they're married. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then women will take that. What the prenup is there for is just to equalize the rules, right? So here you are, you're saying, man, the state, the big, massive government apparatus came in, fucked the whole thing up, made it gynocentric, made sure all the laws defer to women, and all that's true. It is. So if you have this offset that we can give, some kind of offset to men to kind of equal the playing field or make it even, since the woman's ass is already covered by default, why wouldn't we cover theirs? All
right, listen, you are making a very strong libertarian argument for prenuptial agreements, but I would just say that my advice, in the same sense that you can have pattern recognition and recognize things in broad swaths, but then you can also like judge things on an individual basis. I would say that I think that the person you're marrying, if you're actually doing your job as a man and you're being a man and being the leader of your household, I actually don't think that's something you really have to worry about.
Again, that's not gynocentric. It's just naive. It's just naive. That may very well apply to his life. And as long as he continues to be a man, his wife will never leave his side. That is absolutely very, 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 very possible. But it's just not typical enough to say this is how it works. It's just not.
I think if you do your job, I think most of the time when these women like leave and take everything, it is in part at least because
that's a good point too. They don't judge on an individual basis. They go on, well, this is what typically happens. The mother is usually right, so that's the default. Christian said, no offense, but your whole life is trying to show you can live without God. But you being anti-God, I didn't say I was anti-God, still has God in the sentence. You're either with him or you're against him, but he's still there. Okay, prove it. I'm not anti-God. If there is a God, I try to get his attention every single day, and he chooses to ignore me. So I don't know what to tell you. If somebody told you that Klombadrov existed, and every day you prayed, and they were like, if you pray to Klombadrov, will speak to you. Every day you do it, and then nobody speaks to you, then it ain't my fault. I don't have the power to choose what I believe in and what I don't. What we are convinced of is based on other things. You cannot choose, and you cannot choose to not believe in God any more than I can choose to believe in God. So blame it on him. I'm not running from everyone. Like I said, I pray to him every day. I've done it on stream every single day. But more projection, more projecting onto me what you know from other people. This is the Christian way. This is the Christian way. Balance said, I'm not a Christian, but I believe in God. I believe we are all apostolic. How do you say that word? Apostolic body of Christ. Right. You literally just said you're living proof that you don't need God. Right. How is anything that I said? Yes, correct. I am living proof that you don't need God. If there is a God, I would prefer to have God on my side, but I don't think that I need a God. No, I am not anti-God. Are you anti-leprechaun or are you pro-leprechaun? Apostolic. Thank you. So yeah, you're anti-leprechaun or you're pro-leprechaun? Or is there a third option that you don't believe they fucking exist, and so you don't have a pro or con position on them?
Most of the time when these women like leave and take everything, it is in part at least because the man was not being the man of that household. So maybe that's what's skewing me a little bit. All right, guys, look, if there was, in theory, if you're saying that a prenub was going to cancel.
He did it again. The prenub. Before you chop off your arm and you have a nub, an arm is a prenub.
In theory, if you're saying that a prenub was going to cancel out the fucked up, like the fucked up, like putting their thumb on the scale that the state does, I get your point. Perhaps that is benefit. Perhaps.
Shout out to Carl Johansson. Welcome to the party. Said round 2 was more coherent. I definitely agree. I think that, Andrew is still not really able to have a non-debate conversation, at least while the cameras are on. The idea of these two, just doing a show together and just talking about stuff, I think it would work really well for Andrew to be able to soften his edges, because yes, you want to be able to get there in the heat of the debate and stay on topic and, be there, all that stuff and be the great debater that you are. But again, there are other types of conversations. And if you can't get out of debate mode, then all you can do is show other people that you can debate well, which doesn't really do much. And that's cool if that's what your job is. Hey, everybody, look how well I can debate things. Cool, great. Some of the rest of us are out here trying to change the fucking world. So, I don't know. But welcome to the party. Yeah, let's not say nobody. If you have a good faith debate where both people are legitimately respectful of each other, are willing to let each other get heated and get passionate, and also are trying to work towards representing their side as opposed to winning the debate, and at the end you understand that this is my position and this is your position, nobody's convincing each other, we're just putting our positions out there, and then it's the audience that decides. But too many people, again, are just focused on winning the debate for themselves, for their own platform, which, again, is fine, but it's not the same thing as trying to help other people. And we shouldn't conflate the two. Octavius said, Andrew likes to be right all the time. I know that could annoy some people, but since I agree with him on most things, it doesn't bother me. Well, I'm kind of the same way. That's why I definitely see, the benefit in being able to be very, very sharp and cutting down. People will be drowning on and on and on. Be like, no, see, I asked you this question, and now you're saying on that, and that is a very, very, very important skill. But you have to know when to apply that skill versus a softer approach to get your message across to more people. And I don't know. I completely agree with you that he would say he's trying to change the world, but I just don't think that is I don't think that's a realistic goal. And number two, I don't actually think that he's trying to do that. I think he is very well aware of the fact that most people, including Christians, are not in favor of Christian nationalism. I think he's very aware of that. And I don't think that he is genuinely trying to. I think if he brings people over, great. That great. Now I got another customer. But I see this as just a job to him, which again, I'm not saying is wrong. I'm just saying it's different. It's just different. All right, we'll grab this one and dive back in. King says, Andrew's okay when he snaps out of debate mode, but I think it's hard for him to turn it off. But I'm not a dentist. Fair enough.
Thumb on the scale that the state does, I get your point. Perhaps that is benefit. Perhaps on a large scale, that would be more
totally
beneficial than more beneficial than not. Perhaps you're right.
Yeah. So that's, as I look at these dynamics, right, and in modernity especially, okay.
I said, shit, me too.
To me, the language of a prenuptial agreement,
excuse me. I don't know what you're talking about. If you don't, it's a pre-nub. Thank you very much.
Actually, okay. To me, the language of a prenuptial agreement, when I was growing up, I thought that was for rich fucking football players and shit. You know what I mean? And it was just kind of known that they're marrying a hot 19-year-old when they're moving into their 35-year-old retirement or whatever. And that chick is basically just there for money. And we know that she's just there for money. But now it's become a survival mechanism. Now it's become a mechanism for actually combating this kind of gynocentrism, which is seeped into the law. And the truth is, we can have good, astute marriage laws and good enforcement of marriage laws, which are fair and unbiased, but we don't. And the reason that we don't is because I believe that the attack on marriage specifically is a feminist response to patriarchy. Marriage is always the man is the head. This has always been the religious connotation from it. Doesn't matter what religion, at least in the Abrahamic ones, maybe.
So because other people who are women and are feminists have this position that you don't need a prenup. And then Dave also says for different reasons that his particular marriage doesn't need a prenup. He's gynocentric.
What?
That's not what it is. That's not what it is. And so I think I agree with Carl here. So I think we have to let Christians run things for a while and see what happens. They'll probably go too far in some areas, but at least they have some principles. So first, I would say this is already happening. We already been down that road. We're getting out of the tail end of this. So Christians were in charge the entire time. Christians ran things. The Christians still run everything. But the fact is, people aren't buying it anymore. And so while I don't want to take religion away from anybody, people are throwing it away anyway. And if the dichotomy is you're over here with the Christians or you're over there with the leftists, that's a bad dichotomy that we all, whether we believe or not, the principles that we hold that Carl is talking about, we will lose those. Those will become very, very, very minority positions because secularism is going to take over. Secularism is already taking over. That is what the issues that we see is a secularism without a moral structure behind it. And so what we need to do is to develop a secular moral structure. If you're a Christian, you follow Christianity. But if you're not, you can still be an American and follow American values and American principles and American whatever. It just doesn't, especially for people like myself who spent their life in the church. I mean, even if, again, I try to communicate with God every single day. Because if I'm wrong, I would like to know that I'm wrong. I would like to be correct. If there really is a God up there, I would like to do whatever I can to have the best life and have the best protection. But it doesn't seem like I have that, and I don't use that as a way to live my life. But everybody's telling me, oh, it's so great, American, oh, this, that. And so I try. But if it's not there, and how many atheists do you think pray to God every day? Not that many. And you're not going to get atheists to pray to God. What you can do is create a culture where, regardless of whether you believe in this or that hurting people is wrong. Wow. Mutilating children is wrong. Wow. Stealing things is wrong. Wow. That's the conversation that should be happening. It should be based on morality in general. And again, that's on Dave for not bringing the conversation in a realm where he can make his points, because marriage is not a good example of libertarianism. So I don't understand why we're sticking on this, but the Christians have been running things for a long time, and it's led us here. So that's what I got to say about that. He said, as long as a belief in God is doing something good for you, please continue to believe. But I know it's only caused me trauma, so please understand that it's not the right thing for everybody. It's just not right for everybody. Great. If it's right for you, great. Great. Don't be a hedonist like the leftists, most of whom are atheists, yes. But there's nothing in atheism that tells you to be a degenerate. It's just a position on whether you believe a thing. And so this fear of secularity is what is creating the avenue for all of these people to go and think that it's okay to be leftists. Because when they throw away God, now they have nothing. And they're not going to throw away God. So it's up to us, those who have the principles, whether we believe in this, that, or the other. It's about the fact that we share these principles of how people should behave. And again, I am proof that you do not need to believe in these things to follow them, even if that's where, for me, they came from. Yes, they came from my growing up in the church. I have no problem saying that. But that doesn't mean that the next generation who doesn't care about church and is not ever going to get to that place where, it's interesting that they're talking about on Sundays, but let me search further. That's going to be happening less and 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 less. And so if you cling to it's only Christianity, you will lose. Because I tell you what, Islam is a lot stronger than Christianity. It's a lot stronger than Christianity. They believe that the tenets, they stick to them a lot more closely. Maybe not in America, but that's America. But you go to any Muslim country, and they don't fuck around. You don't have girls getting their back blown out on OF wearing a crucifix. That don't happen. I mean, yeah, we had Mia Khalifa, but everybody knows what the hell I'm talking about because that was one example. I will be here for you guys when Christianity fails and it is the secular world versus the Islamists. I will be here for you. But I'm just letting you know that it's not going to last. MC9 said, shocker, the truth of the gospel is not that we can invite God into our lives, but that he invited us into his. That's all I'll say of that. Okay. Balance said, what's your opinion of the 10 Commandments back in schools? I think it would help greatly. So what if instead of the 10 Commandments, we came up with the American Commandments, or whatever the fuck we want to call them? And it's essentially the same thing, except it has nothing to do with believing in a particular God. It has to do with actually behaving as a good person and doing things that actually help society. How does having no other idols help society? What's wrong with covering your neighbor's wife? If she's hot, as long as you don't fuck her, it's all good. So it's better than nothing, but we have so much more than nothing. So why are we going to step 1 if we have step 10 just because step 1 is better than step 0? I don't get it. And Carl, I agree with you. So then why do we need the belief part in order to live out the principles? Explain that to me. Explain why you need to believe in a thing in order to act a certain way. Not the principles, but the truth claims that there's a man in the sky. I'm being facetious. I know that you don't actually believe that. I mean, maybe some of you do, but that's the point. You don't need to believe in this particular thing in order to have these principles. Don't be coveting. I'll do what I want. Send me to hell. I don't give a shit. We got a lot here. Holy shit. Where do we go? All right. So Sandy said, the POTUS has to be a Christian if he only acts in name only. What more Christians can do about the most powerful man? I don't know what that says. Funkmaster said, we let them run shit in the 70s and 80s. Many boy touchers got away with a whole lot of boy touching. Indeed, they did. And still are, because nobody's getting charged. They just get moved around.
Bingo.
But yeah, please tell me more about how the church is the answer to all of our problems. Carl said people don't have to convert or pray, but the Christians need to retake power and stop being nice. The secularists are monsters. They are now because they don't have what? A moral structure. They don't believe in your the truth claims of your moral structure. So that is not an option for them. So instead of just saying, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, how about fucking do something about it and come up with something that makes that gives them a reason to not be monsters. Wow. It's almost like we can affect change in our society. It's almost like we have power if we come together and push for a goal, a common goal. Octavia says it's very difficult to have morals if we don't use Christianity. Not if you do the intellectual work to look at moral philosophy, which is not easy. So I'll agree there. I thought about it, hence the current state of society. Sadly, most people that follow Christian rules to not make Sky Daddy angry. Yeah, I agree. Like if you have not read anything from Hegel or if Immanuel Kant or Rene Descartes, or if you have not read any moral philosophy, you do not have the ability to tell me that Christianity is better than anything, because all you've ever done is be a Christian. I've been a Christian. Have you been an atheist? So it seems like one of us has a little bit better, perspective on both sides. So, all right, let's dive back in here.
Marriage specifically is a feminist response to patriarchy. Marriage is always the man is the head. This has always been the religious connotation from it. Doesn't matter what religion, at least in the Abrahamic ones. Maybe some of the other ones no, but the Abrahamic ones, still, if you're Jewish or you're Muslim or you're Christian.
Was this in America? I bet it was.
The Orthodox Jews even believe the man is the head of the relationship, the head of the household, right? Mm-hmm. And so the reason feminists hate Christianity especially so much is because of the view that Christianity is a patriarchal religion, because it is, and therefore the marriages are going to be patriarchal, and they are.
And M169 makes a great point about the Ten Commandments. What stops extreme Muslims from demanding girls cover up and going even further with Sharia law? And again, they to be patience. What is secular morality? It is being a good person without believing in a God. That's it. So I'm a bad person? You don't even know me. How do you know that I don't have morality? Seems kind of arrogant. Seems kind of bigoted. Because I've known far too many people who are only trying to avoid the punishment of hell or earn the reward of heaven. But it doesn't seem like morality to me. Morality is being good because it's right. Exactly. Funkmaster said, we're not making God angry, we're making him sad because we disappointed a bunch of clowns. Dionysus said, respecting and treating one another as we would like to be treated regardless of their belief or non-belief. Secular morality. Opposite of bad. No, good in the context of morality would be a benefit to humanity. So that which is morality is the spectrum. Morality, tell me if you disagree with this. Morality is the spectrum of the greatest well-being for all people to the worst possible suffering for all people. Something that is more moral is going to be more on this side of the good for all people, and something that is less moral is going to be on this side of the scale. Does that not is that not what morality is? Because if not, then I don't really know what you mean by morality. I think you just mean following Sky Daddy.
And they're supposed to be. That's this kind of natural order that you're moving towards. And
openly, or did they hide it?
And they hate it. And so this massive attack on the institution of family is
why does the term morality need a qualifier? Because they've been told.
And they hate it. And so this massive attack on the institution of family is the removal of that patriarchal head. That's why every dynamic is shown except that one.
Yeah. Well, do you think there's something to, and this is maybe to move the conversation a little bit more broader, but don't you think there's something toward something about, say, like the feminists who are like hate marriage so much? And
shout out to the Eerie Fairy Tales. Welcome to the party. Yep. So apparently Andrew just converted a few years ago. Not sure if that means Orthodoxy specifically or Christianity in general. I'm pretty sure it's Christianity in general. Fact check me on that. I am not sure, but as I've heard it, that he was not a Christian a few years ago, but I could be wrong.
Say like the feminists who are like hate marriage so much, and the fact that, say, they're largely backed by the political class. I mean, certainly forget even getting into like, the feminist movement being created and funded by the CIA or stuff like that, which is an interesting topic if you want to talk about that. I know your wife wrote a book on that.
Can't get into it on YouTube, right?
But yeah, I do like it. Yeah. There is a lot to that. Yeah. That don't you think that there is something?
It actually came from Bolsheviks, just so you know, more than anything.
Well, okay, and the Bolsheviks were the biggest statists in the history of the world, right?
Don't disagree, but what they did was they took out the legitimate monarchy, which was a stabilizer for Russia, the legitimate monarchy.
Sure. I mean, I'm not saying they replaced anarchism. I'm just saying that they were certainly represented an increase in the power of the central government.
And notice how far, like he just threw that out, and notice how far off from the point we are. And that's a good debate tactic. It's not a good conversational tactic.
And so don't you think there's something to the fact that almost all of the biggest, most powerful statists are the ones who are backing up this kind of push to destroy the family, to destroy community, to destroy religion?
I think that right now it seems that the roles have reversed. That the state initially...
Really quick, guys, we are just past the 2-hour mark. If you would like to keep the party raging, you know how to do it.
Actually was trying to do something to safeguard against industrialists who were trying to move women into the workforce, and politicians were actually trying to do something about this. In fact, I can give you several congressmen who were talking about... So from this scale, we're talking from the late 1800s into almost before World War II. So there's a large time period here where industrialization was causing a different type of centralized power. They were even becoming more powerful than the governments themselves. Okay. And this was a big problem. Now they would work hand in hand with government organizations. Don't get me wrong. You're totally right about all that. But what's happened now is this interesting reversal. Like Elon Musk, this technocrat, he should really not have the position of kind of limiting women's suffrage or this kind of position of kind of limiting state power, right? You would think a technocrat wouldn't be thinking along those lines, or that we would turn to Donald Trump, who is definitely a rich industrialist, in order to kind of safeguard these institutions from the government, right?
You all spin on that thing.
And it used to be that the government was trying to kind of safeguard those institutions from the industrialists, and now the roles have completely swapped. And so it's a bizarre dynamic, right?
So how is transing kids creating how is that moving towards well-being for people? You're bringing utilitarianism into it. And yes, there's an aspect of utility and what is good for humanity and what is bad for humanity. But again, if we are not talking about the difference between the worst suffering for all people and the greatest well-being for all people, then I don't know what you mean when you say something is moral. If you don't mean that it's on this side of the middle line, I do not understand what it is that you mean. We're talking about the same thing. You've just been convinced that it can only come from God. But as I am sitting here in front of you, I believe these things despite not believing a God exists. The secularists, because we're all in one group, right? They claim no, that would be leftists. This has nothing to do with whether or not you believe in God. This has to do with whether you believe in the institutions of our country. Well, I disagree, but I agree with the notion that they still have a value as anyone else, which is again me demonstrating that we have the same principles despite having different beliefs.
Right? It's a bizarre dynamic, and so no, I'm not sure that I agree that it's just the idea of this kind of overarching powerful government. That is, I think that any institution which becomes powerful enough through centralization. Can become.
I don't believe that God exists. And yes, I stole my morals from the things that help society. And by and large, in the past, when we didn't know shit about shit, then Christianity was the way that people lived out these values. Prove that God exists, and then you have a point. If you do, the God of whoever's out there, I don't know. If I say, God, if you are out there, I genuinely want to have a relationship with you. I don't understand what I've done wrong or what you need me to do, but I am willing to do it. Please just show me, give me some sign of what it is I should do or say or believe or think or what anything. Just whoever's out there. I don't believe that there's anybody out there, but I have the humility to understand that I don't know things that I don't know. You are claiming to know a thing that you cannot possibly know. In fact, you don't even claim that you know it. You all claim, oh, it's faith, we believe it. But then it's like, well, no, you're wrong. How can you tell me that I'm wrong about something that you don't know? That don't make no sense. Shout out to the Funk Master General again. No question, no comment, just pure love of the game. Oh, this way. Morty, get it. Yummy. Thank you so much. Out sponsoring yourself. Oh my goodness. Thank you so very, very much. Hey, we got our boy Stephen Colbert Cheese in the building. Welcome to the party. Well, don't pray to me because I can't hear that shit. But if it makes you feel better, do you. Welcome.
Any institution which becomes powerful enough through centralization can become a serious problem. But it's not always the government. Oftentimes it's industrial centers or it's NGOs or it's any number of different things. Sometimes I've actually seen the government press back against that, at least in the early 1900s. I mean, we had a very famous president killed the bank. Right? He killed the bank. He killed it. And it's like he was the president and did that. So
I don't deny that my morals come from religion. When have I ever said that I'm pretty sure I explicitly stated just now that they did come from religion. As I said, I was brought up in the church. And they, by and large, have some pretty good ideas about how to treat people. They also have some very, very awful ideas about how to treat people, including slaves, women, non-believers, so on. But yes, I stole them.
How dare you?
It's almost like I'm trying to be a good person even though I don't believe in your silly fairy tale. Oh, how dare you! What a horrible person trying to be good! Oh, no!
So, I mean, it wasn't always the
Sure,
politicians
sure.
versus the people, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not saying, and of course you're referring to Andrew Jackson, who's the same first name as you. So maybe you can get out there and do it. Well, no, I'm certainly not saying that there's never been anyone within the political class who's fought to roll back power against other members of the political class. Of course, Andrew Jackson was.
Okay, so what if I do this and then still silence? What then? Genuine question. What do I do next? Because I've done this every day for the last 20 years. With a genuine desire to understand the truth. I don't care about being right or wrong, and I promise you that, I mean, I'm never going to worship Yahweh, but if that is the God, I will happily come. Guys, I found God. I still think he's an asshole. I'm not going to worship him, but I believe in God. I mean, I want to be right, but I don't care if I am wrong, because we're all wrong about things. And if I'm wrong, I'll change my opinion to be right, because I don't have to whatever I'm saying today, I don't need that to be, I don't need to frame that as the only way to think. I might be wrong. I am willing to be wrong.
Was successful, ultimately
Paid off.
Oh, yeah, we never got the answer. I forget if it was Christian Orange, but who was saying anti-God or pro-God? You anti-leprechaun or pro-leprechaun? I still didn't get an answer on that. Funny how you guys have all these questions. I'm so ready to answer them on the spot, and you have all the time to type away and silence, just like your God.
Other members of the political class. Of course, Andrew Jackson was successful, ultimately
Paid off the nation's debt, by the way.
Yes, that's right.
Very first thing that he did. Absolutely hated the banker class because they tried to assassinate him multiple times.
Yes, that's right. Andrew, very interesting guy, by the way. If you read up on the history of Andrew
Yeah,
Jackson.
he was very much a pro-government guy, very much, and he was very much an Indian killer, and he was very much a this shit is ours because I have the gun and we're going to take this shit by force. But he did not want industrialists and rich bankers who were controlling industrialists to come in and take over his fucking nation that we had conquered from the savages, and the government, which was in power, which was there to represent the people. That's
Carl, I completely agree with you here. So nobody's demanding you to convert, just pointing out that morality separated from religion never lasts and is easily subverted. You know what else is easily subverted? Morality that comes from religion. Why do you think all the leftists so easily become a degenerate? Because they left it behind. You can leave all of that behind. And I'm pretty sure the prisons are not filled with atheists. The prisons are filled with Christians. I'm sure as the Funkmaster General brought up before, I'm sure that if we took the numbers, there would be way more baby raper or boy rapers in the church than outside. How would we ever know? Because they don't actually, do anything about it. But I would bet that works. And so instead of clinging on to this faulty bullshit that you can't prove or verify, that people are not buying anymore. Again, that's the bottom line. Whether it works or it doesn't work, if people don't buy it, it doesn't fucking matter. And as we have seen, many people are not buying it and becoming leftist degenerates. And with you thinking that, oh, it's God, it's God, it's God, it's God, it's God, it's God, it's God. Do you think there are no Christian leftists? Do you think there are no Christian leftists? Of course there are. It's not this magic bullet that, oh, you believe in God and now everything is perfect. If it was, then a lot more people would be Christians. A lot more people would be good Christians. But it doesn't work that way. And it would be nice if it did, but it doesn't. So you can live in whatever fairy tale world that you want. I'm not trying to take your beliefs away from you. I am just trying to tell you that when you tell other people, if you don't believe what I believe, then you can't be a good person, you're an asshole. Or at least it makes you seem like an asshole. And I don't want you to look like an asshole. Good one. Good one. You're still like, when reading something else, when I read a really good book, I rave about it and want everyone to read it, but I'm not going to get judgy if they don't. Bingo. Because they are the 7 millionth time I've heard these questions and answered them and discussed why they are the way they are. And so it's nothing personal. It's just, if you have to deal with the same exact low tier arguments over and over and over and over and over again, it does get frustrating. Shout out to Christian Packard. Welcome. Not welcome to the party. Thank you for the super chat. So my apologies. I had another message other than just praying and lay it down. I'm pro Christ and anti leprechaun. Much love, brother. Thank you so very much. And of course that comes with a treat for Morty. And hey, wake up! Yeah, it's for you. And of course we gonna keep that party. Eat it, bro. What are you doing? There you go. Thank you, sir. Very, very, very much appreciated. And I appreciate all you guys. I'm not getting angry. Just as I was talking about before, I think there is value in letting yourself be passionate and understanding where to let it fly. All you guys are saying, "Oh, Andrew's the best debater. He can go so hard," and then I'm doing the same thing, but you don't like the thing that I'm saying. So it's bad. Oh, yikes, right? So we're all here in good faith. We're all here trying to understand what other people think. We're all here trying to understand what is the truth. We're all here trying to understand how do we proceed in society in general. That's a general thing that we all want to know. What should we do? Because we don't have a clear answer. People have faith in this or that or other, but we don't have a clear answer. And I'm saying, let's make a clear answer. We've seen enough from Christianity and Hinduism and Buddhism and Islam and moral philosophy of all different types. Let's steal from all these things. Stealing ideas to make the world a better place is not a bad thing. Let me say that again. Stealing ideas to make the world a better place is not a bad thing. So steal all the ideas you can to make the world a better place. Please. Including Christians, anybody. If they have a good idea and it will help people, steal it. Live by it. Where are we? Whoops. I lost us. All right. Okay. So Steven said human psychology isn't fulfilled much by being accurate in a vacuum. Yup. Funkmaster said, yo, watch. God says, haze up.
What?
So close. Because I might be wrong. Are you willing to say that you might be wrong? Carl said, we are in a great awakening right now. You can't see it? Yeah, I'm more than you know. Thank you, Dionysus. I agree. But hey, we all in good time. Yep, my little boy right here. In the summer, I was scared because those of you who were here last summer, this chair used to be back where the guitar is because in the summer they recently made fireworks legal in New Jersey. And so between the fireworks and between thunderstorms, just every night, like as soon as the sun goes down, Morty's just like, oh no. And he just does his chihuahua shake and he's terrified. And so like now usually he's chilling over there, but now because he's afraid, and of course it is going to thunderstorm tonight, he's right here. I wish you'd be on camera, but I can't say that I don't love him right here. Watch out, my little bubba. Oh, what a cute boy. All right. Carl said, I'm not attacking your cut flower morality. I haven't heard that one before. I'm attacking society's cut flower morality. Fair enough. 40 million dead babies. That's a Holocaust. I agree. So it's almost like, despite us having different beliefs, we're on the same side when it comes to how the politics would roll out. It's almost like, even if we don't believe the same thing religiously, we could be on the same team politically. I think that tracks.
From the savages, and the government, which was in power, which was there to represent the people. That's what they were there to do, and he knew it.
I mean, look, I agree with like a lot of your assessment there is correct, but at the same time, I don't know exactly that I'd agree that the government was ever really there to represent the people. And also, as the government power expanded more and more, that Jacksonian mission failed, and like the central bank reemerged.
This is a question for me. Yes, please stop killing babies.
And those capitalists took over the government
Because of rich industrialists.
Well,
Rich industrialists did this.
Sure,
I'm quite sure killing babies is wrong too, but only because I have questioned it. That's the difference between how we approach the world. You've never questioned it, so how do you know that you're not wrong?
I don't even disagree with that. But rich industrialists did this by expanding the power of the government and buying it off.
Yeah, but
hey, we got our boy Joe Mama in the building. Welcome to the party. So would killing baby Hitler have been wrong? Oh, that's you never know, right? You never know, because if you know the future, then I don't necessarily think it is wrong. But if you were to go back, then theoretically he would never become Hitler. So tough one. That's essentially a twist on the what do they call it? The trolley problem, right?
Industrialists did this.
Sure, I don't even disagree with that. But rich industrialists did this by expanding the power of the government and buying it off.
Yeah, but
see, again, this is where, you know what happens when you assume? I was pro-choice all throughout my Christian life. It wasn't until after I left a faith way behind me, and I was still a liberal pro-choicer. And guess what? After that, after I questioned my beliefs, I came to what I think is now the correct position, that abortion is murder. It's almost like the way that you live your life is not the only way to live life. Crazy.
That's my criticism. Yeah, that's like kind of my criticism, though, is that, yeah, sure, the rich industrialists bought the government and made their own government because they had consolidated power. I just think that, like, a libertarian in our kind of hypothetical libertarian land, when I read Ayn Rand, for instance, so Ayn Rand sees this problem, right? She sees the problem. She goes, okay, wait a second. what inside the John Galt world, John Galt's a rich industrialist. And he gets all the other rich industrialists to go make a brand new fuck you land, right?
Bro, again, you're conflating. You're conflating. Secular just means not religious. Leftist morality says killing babies are preferred and should be shouted out. As long as you continue to conflate these things, politically, we will lose. Shout out to Zippy DSM Lee. We say systems and processes. Humans have to run by a system that does not sacrifice people to the system to keep the system running. Be careful with the laws. Indeed. And he is awaiting. Thank you so very, very much for the Rumble rant.
Hey, fuck you. You vultures can all eat yourselves, okay? We're going to take all of the doers, and all of you takers are left here to just be vultures amongst yourselves. I'm taking everything, and I'm getting out of here with all the rich industrialists. And they go start a new nation, essentially, right? With all of the rich industrialists. The kind of interesting parallel here, though, is that she saw the problem of what happens if the rich industrialist instead just co-opts the fucking government. They just become the government. And under her, the only way she could get it to work under her kind of libertarian ideology was if the rich industrialists became the good guys. They became the good guys and said, fuck you to the government and made fuck you land. That was the only way she could square that. And I always thought that was a serious problem in this kind of like Ayn Randian philosophy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm not a Randian, and I think that's a major problem in her philosophy. I do think that you'd probably struggle to find too many examples of these rich industrialists doing this absent leveraging government like institutions in order to help them with it. So that's not, by the way, I actually very much agree with you about your critique of Ayn Rand. but I'm not at all a Randian. And I do think that she had this vision that like, so the industrialists were going to be the ones who stood up.
Yeah, they were the ones who were going to stop big government. They're going to make fuck but you got to think.
In reality, they were the ones driving it, and from the very beginning. And so I actually don't disagree with you. I think there's a real connection there, right?
But I don't understand how to square that, right? That's my problem. Like, let me just
shout out to King Nirvana. Thank you for hanging out. Next time you got a hot tour, spin on that thing. There you go. There you go. Beautiful from Guangtex. And at some point, you're going to have to understand that the enemy of your enemy is your friend. People don't have to have your exact beliefs to help your cause. I didn't see the ... But yeah, I mean, that's the bottom line is that there's religion and there's politics. And when you mix the two, you will lose. You will lose. And if you want to be able to push back against this leftist ideology, then you have to allow people like me to also be part of the club. Instead of always seeing that, oh, well, where's your morality come from? Why does it matter? If I believe the same thing as you do, why does it matter? It said, this is the most important things Christian needs to realize in today's age. Take what you can. Have people like Lutch defend your freedoms and watch your ideas, maybe not religion, flourish. This is coming from a fellow believer.
Bingo.
Thank you, sir.
Dilly dilly. Dilly dilly. Dilly dilly. Dilly dilly.
And I mean, those of you who have, those believers of you who have been here for a while, I definitely, oh, you're heading out, Orange. Thank you for being here. You have a good one. But you see how it's the same. It's not like anybody comes in here and brings any new question that I haven't heard before. And yes, I am getting better at not taking that out on the person who's never met me. That's not fair. But again, I'm human. I'm human, and I'm trying my best. But it is frustrating to get the same conversation over and 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 over again. It is very frustrating. So I apologize if I let it be too much, but I'm also trying to be a little bit animated and entertaining here. So hope that we all understand that at least on this side of the screen, it is all in good faith. Good faith. It's funny how I choked on that word, eh? Is this the same thing? Oh my God, Zippy again with the Rumble rant. Bro, real quick though. Morty, I had a thing of cocktail peanuts. Just something to snack on in my room. In the middle of the night, something. If I'm hungry or whatever, getting you know what I mean. Apparently I forgot that I left the tin. It's like a tin and then there's like a plastic cover. I apparently left it out maybe when I went to work yesterday, and I didn't notice that it was gone when I came home. And Morty's shit on the carpet, and there was like a thing of peanuts basically. But I didn't think much of it. And then I took him for a walk, and 3 times he did the same thing. And I'm like, where did you get all these peanuts? I feel like I would have noticed if you got into my food. But, he got into my peanuts and I didn't notice. Next says, believe in the ideas this country was founded on. That's why I would fight to my death to protect others' rights to believe in something I don't. Because we're all Americans. We need to stand together. Yes. What kind of new questions do you want? What type of things did I use to build my morality? What was the mechanism? What was the process of being a believer in God who is pro-choice to going to being an atheist who is pro-life? That would be an interesting. I've never once got that question. Shout out to the Department of Farts. Welcome. So we've been positively swamped with calls from Andrew and his subs ODing on their own supply. Got him. Got him. Love you too, brother. Glad you are here. As much like I said, I get animated, but I do appreciate the challenges. Dilly. Yeah, that's glassed up. That's glassed up. I mean, he has gotten into the shroom chocolate before, so I've learned my lesson on that one. But Funkmaster said, "I love everyone except people that don't like Tolkien. They're not to be trusted." Well, what if I'm agnostic because I've never read Tolkien? I said, "Are you planning to make a page to let people know your stands on certain issues?" That'll probably be a good idea, right? I mean, maybe eventually. I don't right now. I think I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for that. There's a lot that I can in the moment. I can be like, okay, if you ask me about something, then I can think about it in the moment. But I don't know if there's enough that's already hardwired that I would, you know what I mean? So I think eventually that would be a good idea. But it's hard to articulate. I don't have a 1,000-year-old ritual of what I did, so it's not as easy to just be like, it's this. So probably later in life. Hey, again, all of you guys who are disciples, all of you guys have been saying for a month now, oh, we're going to set up a movie night. We're all going to coordinate, and then we're going to give you a couple times, and then you pick one, and then we're all going to sit and watch the trilogy. Nothing. I'm waiting on it. Dionysus said, faith in humanity. Let us never lose that. Hell yeah. Agreed with that. Definitely agreed. She says, shouldn't you go deeper into philosophy to answer how you determine your own morality? When I do, nobody pays attention because it's above their head. They don't understand because the only philosophical discussion anybody ever has is in church. We just did a philosophy thing the other day, and it's got the lowest views on anything that I've done in forever. People don't understand this stuff. Not because I'm smarter or better or whatever, but because people haven't taken the time to read things that I've read. That's my whole thing, is that, hey, maybe there's a lot of good stuff in the Bible, but that's not the only place that there's good stuff. Department of Art said, Indian Jesus, there are two fellow YouTubers who I think you'd vibe with. Flow State and Based Oracle, both with similar views as you, and both Andrew Wilson rivals. Hey, send him a DM, be like, yo, you should have the Indian Jesus. And I'm not this guy. I would assume, based on if they're Wilson rivals, they're probably a larger platform than mine. So I'm like, hey, can I? But if enough people are like, yo, you gotta check out this guy, the Indian Jesus. Oh my God, that's how it works. When it comes for me, it just it sounds whiny. Sandy said, life is precious, born or unborn. No need for a religion to tell me. Yep. Ayush said, slow and steady. That's how people reach to writing books. You can always get AI to help you nowadays. Yeah. I mean, that's always been something that's on the horizon. If you didn't know before, I was the Indian Jesus. What I was doing was a podcast called the I Didn't Read Your Book podcast. And my idea was that, all these people that are on big shows and everything, they're always writing books about this, that, or something else. And I don't think, people aren't necessarily interested in the books themselves. They're interested in the people. But if I bring people on my show and I don't read the book as like a gimmick where it's like, hey, me and the chat don't know about this book. Can you talk to us about what it is? And maybe, people will want to buy it. That was my initial idea with eventually wanting to write my own book. But you gotta have your ideas very well organized. And I think I have good ideas, but they're not super well organized because I'm just out here in the ocean on my own trying to figure things out. So all right, let's dive back in here.
Driving it and from the very beginning. And so I actually don't disagree with you. I think there's a real connection there, right?
But I don't understand how to square that, right? That's my problem. Like, let me just ask you that directly.
Sure,
I'm just wondering, How, like, I understand why she squared it that way, because she's like, look,
I thought he said, bro, I thought he said she squirted that way.
how, like, I understand why she squared it that way, because she's like, look, if you have all the centralized power, it's going to become a government no matter what. So the only thing we can do is make the industrialists, who are the center of power with all the money and all the fucking, they have all of the access to land, they have all the access to the money. We got to make them the good guys, and they go against the government now. Okay, great. That's fantastic. It's a cool narrative, but I could see why she had to square it that way, because she couldn't figure out how else to square what happens in our kind of libertarian utopia. And I hate using the word utopia. I'm just using it tongue in cheek here. When all of the industrialists, through the doers, have consolidated all this wealth, they just kind of become the fucking government again.
Well, okay, so I'm not sure exactly what you're asking me to square. So I don't think Ayn Rand's vision was correct. And I think that the idea that these industrialists have, let's say, consolidated all of this power, well, yes, certainly a lot. Compared to what might be the question? Compared to, say, like the cronies who are connected to the government today, compared to the cronies connected to the Saudi Arabian government, compared to, like, I mean, I think actually industrialists connected to the government consolidate much more of the wealth and power. And that's ultimately why the industrialists in America, when there was a very limited government, figured out that the better way to take this whole game over was to, like, just buy off politicians. And
By doing what, though? They did it by...
So Carl says, being a pro-life atheist or a pro-choice Christian is like a white buffalo. They exist, but it's an exception to the rule. Are the rules unable to be changed? Maybe that is the problem, that the rules create the dynamic that you are either a pro-life Christian or you're a pro-choice atheist. Almost like I've been saying that the whole time.
Expanding democracy. That was the whole point.
Yes,
so
100%.
Yeah, so
100%.
So what these guys wanted was they wanted to expand the democratic process. And they get lobbyists in there. They can say, look, that's speech. That's speech. We can get lobbyists in there to represent you, right?
Andrew,
we can get lobbyists in to represent you.
Andrew, I think there's less, the more we talk about this, I think we're going to realize that there's less distance.
Yes, but I'm a
Did we just become best friends?
certified democracy hater. Like,
So
I don't know if you didn't know that. Right?
So am I.
I'm a certified democracy hater.
Dude, I hate democracy so much more than you hate democracy.
No, I hate it more than that.
Dude, me and you'll have a democracy hate off. Well, listen.
How did you not use a fucking Step Brothers quote there? Come on. Steven said, being honest about God not being a very good explanation for anything really does put the problem of nihilism for humans in plain sight. And not many of us have been in culture to be all that honest about such. Yep. Libertarians indeed hate rules, but what's the word I'm looking for? The not analog, but the other side to that is that rules don't necessarily work as strong as social norms. Sometimes they do, but it's still illegal to bake a pie or leave a pie on your windowsill in Florida it's still illegal for women to go skydiving on Sundays in Florida, but they do it all the time. It's about what the culture allows. And so right now, because we're clinging on to Christianity and nobody fucking really actually believes that, and everybody takes this part of the Bible or that part of the Bible and that part of the Bible and ignores it, then we create the avenue for people to throw that away. And then when we don't create the alternative, then we have degeneracy. So you can cling to your dying, antiquated religion all that you want. Nobody. I certainly am not trying to take it away from you. Maybe other people are, but I want you to be able to practice whatever religion you want. I just don't want you to take that practicing of the religion to destroy the political gains that we can make in improving this country. That's just me. I mean, maybe you care more about being right about what you believe than about how the country goes, but it is what it is. Zippy again with the Rumble rant. Oh my goodness. This guy's gonna throw up. He's gonna throw up. He is so much good. Oh, did you drop it? You got it. He got it. What does it say for the Rumble rants? And one of the things with a human RAM system, you have to be harsh with law to equalize people with the collective or government. You cannot save people from themselves, or else you lest. That's where you would use the word lest. You cannot save people from themselves, lest you give power to the government to enslave you. Indeed. I don't think that was word soup. I think that was pretty good. Dionysus said common sense is greater than religion. And you know me. Here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Carl said Orthodox Christianity is the new punk rock. Is it though? I don't think it is, bro. I don't think it is. But I won't argue with you on that one.
Oh, I hate it more than that.
Dude, me and you'll have a democracy hate off. Well, listen, no, right. So I think that's exactly right. But actually, like, look, okay, so I get your point. There's this kind of thing where you go like, okay, as society starts industrializing and as there are more, so let's say broadly speaking, right, there was somewhat of a free market.
Someone said, you guys just become best friends.
Thank you. Whoever that chatter was, how do you miss the Step Brothers reference right there?
Wait, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you like guacamole?
Yeah. Do you want to go do kung fu in my garage?
Okay, so there was as the post-industrial revolution, there were the robber barons, as they call them. There were certainly people who
well, that's liberal talking points, but yeah,
sure. But whatever, the people that you'd be thinking of, John D. Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, people like this. And what happened was that those guys tried over and over again to monopolize different industries, and they continually failed. Now,
this is adorable. Oh yes, Christianity is the counterculture. Okay, bro. What was it that they just mandated to put up on the walls in schools? Christian doctrine. Okay,
they didn't fail in terms of being successful businessmen, but they did fail in terms of like their dreams that they wrote about monopolizing things. Because what would typically happen in a more market order, and just for people listening to keep in mind, nothing has ever been a pure laissez-faire free market. Nothing has ever been a pure totalitarian state.
Guys, a reminder, if you would like to continue this conversation and not be stuck behind your keyboards and not have to worry about the YouTube censors, join over at the Discord server. It is absolutely free to join. We have a bunch of free channels that we're in there 24/7 hanging out, having a good time. But if you actually join the YouTube channel, then you get instant access to the full server, and that includes the after party, where, again, you are not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. You can come up if you want to. You don't have to. Either way, it is a grand old time. Come and join us.
It's always some degree.
I feel like mercantilism came close. Mercantilism came very, very close to having what you would consider something akin to laissez-faire. I don't think laissez-faire ever even came close, by the way. But I think mercantilism came closest.
I would disagree with that. But just back to the point I'm making. In the United States of America, let's say between the end of the Civil War, so between 1865 and say 1910.
Yep.
For that
false dichotomy,
that stretch of time, you had no central bank, no federal income tax.
It was a bunch of people that just converted away from Christianity, right? Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who made her name being an atheist, she just converted. Oh no, she became a Christian. And Richard Dawkins was just quoted saying he's a cultural Christian. Wait, oh yeah, he did say he was a Christian. And then Russell Brand, famously spiritual, he became Jewish, I think, right? Or it was Christian. But yeah, punk rock, totally punk rock, bro.
You had no central bank, no federal income tax. Federal spending was very low. Federal regulations were almost non-existent. There's compared to what we have today, say a radical laissez-faire system. If this was implemented tomorrow, you'd go, Dave, you just got your wet dream. This is like beyond the realm of what you could possibly.
But the reason. But I'm going to have to a little bit of pushback there for context.
Bro, let him finish one sentence.
I think that the reason you had so little regulation, it wasn't that you did. It was in the eastern states, you had tons of federal regulation. You had tons of state regulation.
Ooh, okay. So I like this. So this is an interesting... damn it. But let's talk about it, because I think there's a lot of people. You got me. But there's a lot of people who right now maybe aren't trans people, maybe aren't pushing trans ideology, but are passively in favor of it because it's the leftist. What's the word? The leftist like default. Is that the word I'm looking for? But you know what I mean? That's what, you know, to be on the left, to be part of the club, you have to be A-okay with the LGBTQ whatever. And again, I just think it's a false dichotomy to say, oh, well, it goes from Christian to LGBT and then Christian and then LGBT. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. And Christianity is on the rise and is not punk rock. It is not counterculture. It is just a different side of mainstream culture. That's like saying, well, being a Republican is the new punk rock because of Obama. No, it's just the other side of mainstream culture. That's it. That's it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yep, Marty knows it. Marty knows it. Again, shout out to the Bug Master General. All of you guys, I want to see all of you. Wait. I want to see all of you guys in the after party. Shout out to Patrick, Rowan, Nikki, Not Sorry, and Harold. Welcome to being a disciple. Send me a DM, join the Discord, send me a DM, and you will get the instant permissions, and we will see you in the after party. There we go. There we go. Thank you so very, very much, sir. And look what we got. Oh, you didn't have to do that again, bro. Doubled up. Do you have it here? Yeah. Again, Zippy says the problem with any flavor of wait, let me get you. I got you. Hold on. I know. Hold on. Oh, Jesus. I'm running out of pieces. I gotta refill. Zippy with the Rumble rant says the problem with any flavor of Christianity, it hates the individual. Bingo. Thus tribalism ensues. You're not fixing monopolies with more monopolies. Humans, why? I like it. Punk rock is very individualistic. Punk rock and falling out of counterculture aren't mutually exclusive. So when you say it's the new punk rock, do you not mean it's the new counterculture? It seems like you're saying that the new punk rock means it's the new alternative perspective, and it's not. It's just the other mainstream perspective. There's nothing individualist about Christianity. Nothing at all. What do you think the government and the voters, like yourself, say about atheists? Cry me a fucking river. Yup. Spot on. That's a short term. I think it's a short term thing. A bunch of people are going to hop on the Christian bandwagon. And then I see that these people don't actually believe. It's a political tool. It's a social thing. The same way we see the social contagion with the transes. And, I'm non-binary now. That's what a bunch of people on the right are doing. It's the exact mirror image. And it's so frustrating that people can't see it. It's so frustrating. But when the Islamists take over, like I said, I still have your back. I'll still have your back.
It was in the eastern states. You had tons of federal regulation. You had tons of state regulation.
More
people were continuously migrating west.
Well, that's
and there wasn't any authority, and they were just kind of rampaging across the west. They killed everything in their path and took their shit. Right? That's what people do. So we went west. Right? We went. Well, we did. We went west.
So some of that, but a lot of it was just homesteaded. Probably much more was just homesteaded than was just like
sure. But there was very little regulation.
I mean, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree. I just agree to disagree. There you go.
due to the fact that we were constantly expanding westward. And so what would end up happening is we'd have kind of that more frontier mentality. There wouldn't be as much regulation in those areas, and there wasn't for a long time. It took a long time for the Eastern vultures to catch up with the West. Even, by the way, in the 20th century, this was the case. If you go to Nevada, for instance, even to this day, walk down the street with a samurai sword and an Uzi, and they can't do shit about it. You can go to Montana, to Butte, Montana, and you can walk around drunk as a skunk, okay, with an open container in your hand, stumbling in the streets, and they can't do shit about it. And it's because the kind of Eastern vultures were not able to kind of auto-correct, right, as fast as they would have liked to for this kind of expansion.
Monty, I don't know if you're watching. We were just watching that TikTok about the Louisiana Purchase.
All other Western nations had monarchies.
Well, there is something to be said to that point. But even within the Eastern part of the country, the amount of the federal government control was far lower than anything we could imagine today. I mean, well,
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, you're talking about
give it 10 years. Give it 10 years. Mark this, bookmark this, save this wherever you want at the 2 hour and 49.5 minute mark. In 10 years, you'd be like, damn, that little brown dude was right. Shit.
We could imagine today. I mean, well,
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, you're talking about they would micromanage everything to minority sectors. I mean, they would micromanage whether or not you could marry a black person. They would micromanage whether or not you could marry a Jewish person. They would micromanage every small little detail.
So to that point, all of that stuff that you're talking about was done on local levels, and in terms of micromanaging who you could marry, that was done almost by church, by community, again.
Oh, they had laws. They had miscegenation laws, big time.
Yes. But again, these weren't federal laws. These were all almost all local laws. So again, I'm not dispute. I'm not saying it was a perfect libertarian
not even close. I wasn't saying you're arguing that.
But the point is that in terms of because what I was trying to get at here is you were talking about how these robber barons took over. So I'm not talking about what any local law was or any about how perfectly libertarian it was. I'm saying in the macro, what we were looking at was that all of these guys, particularly John D. Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan, they had
Carnegie. Don't forget Carnegie.
Sure. They had their dreams of monopolizing industries. And
they had monopolies. I mean, J.D. Rockefeller was the first one who started to refine oil. I mean, he sold the process. It was that refining process that did it.
John D. Rockefeller had a monopoly in a sense when he first basically came up with refining oil. And
he had a monopoly. I mean, they kind of still do, but he had the monopoly period on refining. Refining was something that was brand new.
Let me just make my point because
sure.
So Standard Oil, John D. Rockefeller's company, essentially did have a monopoly on refining oil because they were the first ones who did it.
Yeah.
So notice how now that the conversation has moved more into a hard facts conversation about history, Dave's in his element. But why are we now an hour and 40 minutes into an over 2 hour discussion, and you're only now on your own territory? That's a flaw in your ability to, if you're going to be in this space, then you need to understand. I think it's such a perfect mirror of each other, where Andrew is always in debate mode and can't turn it off and just have a conversation. And Dave is just so conversational that he can't turn it up unless he's, emotionally, he definitely went hard on Chris Cuomo, but I mean, I can go hard on Chris Cuomo. No. But you know what I mean.
How a free market monopoly works. You come up with something new and you're the only one doing it. When the Sherman Antitrust Act first went in, I think it was passed in 1896. Double check me on that. I might be wrong about that. They brought their case against Standard Oil. At the time when the act was created, they had 90-something% of the market. By the time it went to trial, they were already down to 70-something% of the market. They were losing before the government even intervened. What would always happen is they would be losing and losing and losing because the natural order in the market was that you'd take over, you'd have some new thing. And so
they weren't losing.
New is always better. If you can name that quote, then you win.
Yes, Rockefeller wasn't losing. To who?
Listen, again, you just brought up this example.
Well, yeah, I'm saying that.
Okay, let's just. I mean, what is wrong? What is wrong with Nick? What is wrong with Nick? No, that's a genuine question. What's wrong? What's wrong with this? I don't care what gender, race, age, or anything else is. If you would stand and fight for freedom with me, you are my brother or sister. That is what America is about. And they say, no, you're not one of us. Say, no, you go over there on the left. You belong with them. Why didn't you color your hair? Why didn't you pierce your nose? We know everything about you based on what thing you believe in. It is hurtful. Like, you know, we get used to it, but don't think it's not hurtful. Justin said, I think Dave was genuinely interested in the earlier conversation and wasn't in a rush to get into his realm of knowledge. Fair. But if your opponent is not on this level, then you have to match that. Otherwise, you lose. I don't like that that's the way it is, and I agree that you are correct. But that's why, you know, you need to be able to balance. Like, hey, that's why if he wanted to do that, then then number one, this could have been a private conversation. Number two, it could have been like, hey, yo, again, I'm not trying to argue with this. I'm just trying to learn. You said you know all this, and I've been married. That is the approach that you need to take. And it's any of these debates are about what the audience thinks, and you, me, people who are fans of Dave are going to be willing to give him that space. But a lot of people who don't know any better are just gonna be, oh, he lost. And now the person who's actually trying to spread ideas to improve society in a practical way versus the guy who's like, well, if we have my utopia where everybody's a Christian and the law is Christian, you get prosecuted for not being Christian. Okay, yes, you're not the same thing. Not the same thing.
Listen, again, you just brought up this example.
Well, yeah.
I'd say nothing, brother. I'd say nothing.
Yeah, I'm saying that
Okay,
the way I see it is a giant rich industrialist who had a monopoly from refining bought the government. That's what I see.
Hold on. Yes, you're not wrong about that, but let me just finish the point because
go ahead.
We're not completely disagreeing here. And by the way, Thomas DiLorenzo, who's a great historian, he went through all of this and like mapped out like the price points. All of these industries, whether you're talking about the American Tobacco Company, Standard Oil, any of them, all of them, when they had their monopolies, they were always lowering prices. And this is how they would keep their monopolies. And then the dream that all of them had, which became the progressive myth, was that once they take over the whole sector, they're going to raise prices up. And now because they're a monopoly, no one's going to have any choice. But this failed over and over again in the free market. And so
let's shout out our boy Kevin. Welcome to the party. Not sure what you're referring to with learning. Learning what? Who's learning what? I don't know who's learning what. A seminary school make believe to become a Catholic priest. A lot of people do it. And then they get to be holier than thou. Pun intended.
One's going to
welcome to the party.
Have any choice, but this failed over and over again in the free market. And so what they ultimately ended up doing was buying off the government.
Well,
so
I
you're
think
correct in that.
I think what they did
continued their monopoly.
I see when you say so. Here's I think our central disconnect.
Okay.
I think our central disconnect is you see it as buying the government. I see them as creating a new government. What I see is that these rich industrialists, they didn't go in and buy politicians so much as what they did was they took the Constitution.
Did you Google it? That was way too long. You definitely would have had that right off the bat. But yes, that's correct.
United States and created a brand new type of government because they had centralized power. I mean, for God's sakes, Rockefeller Standard Oil sold an additive to the Germans through a proxy company called IG Farben. If I remember correctly, Bush was on the Bush Senior was on the council for IG Farben, and they were in violation of the Trading with Enemies Act during the. I was
like, who the fuck is what are you saying? I was so confused. But there you go. Yep. I don't even know who that is. Carl says, you criticize Christians for being too nice and letting this degeneracy happen. And I agree with you. But when Christians learn from that and stop being nice, You criticize us for that. Standards matter. It's almost like there's a balance between being too nice and being too mean, right? Like, is that a dichotomy? Are you either too nice or too mean, or is there a middle ground? I assume there's a middle ground. I'm doing my best to create that middle ground if it doesn't exist, but I'm only one person.
Carbon, and they were in violation of the Trading with Enemies Act this was during the World War II industrialization, which we were warned about, right? While this was happening, they created brand new governments. They created whole shadow governments because they had the resources to do it. I believe that, and by the way, I can tell you that Franco believed this as well. The fascists who came out of communists, they were trying to stop the large trade organizations from swallowing all the small ones, right? They saw industry itself as needing to be a part of the body of the state. Not saying that that's correct. I'm just saying they understood the power of industry in buying off the state and creating a brand new state. So as you see, they're buying politicians. I see that they're just creating brand new governments because they have the power to do it.
What do you mean? What's the distinction there? So, well, I'm not sure I completely.
I don't think it's as much perverting the system as it is. I have so much power and control. I can just create brand new systems.
Okay, but the method.
Okay, Andrew Wilson.
By which they did that was by funding politicians' campaigns.
In some places, and in some places, they just went and killed the.
You're not even wrong. Like, yes, it is tone policing. Yes. There's a way to speak to people effectively and a way to speak to people ineffectively. You can cry about it and say, well, you're tone policing. But then again, that shows you are not interested. He who complains about tone policing is not interested in reaching the people who are saying that. If it is, the instances on the whatever podcast where he's just making a solid ass point and the girl doesn't know what to do. Well, I don't like the way that you said that. That is one thing. That's bullshit. I would venture a guess that I don't think that that's what I've been doing. I think I've been making pretty substantive arguments, whether you agree or disagree. I think I've been trying to answer in the best way. And you asked me a question. You said that, well, okay, you didn't ask me a question, but you criticize Christians for being too nice and let his degeneracy happen, which I didn't really say that at all, but that's not really here or there. But then you don't have to, you can, let's look at parenting. So if we're saying, well, you tell me not to beat the shit out of my kid, but then when I give him everything he wants, well, then you think that's bad parenting too. Yeah, it is. Well, you're just tone policing. Okay, then I'm tone policing. So Edward Louis Bernays, a German American pioneer in the field of public relations and propaganda. Good guess. But Barney Stinson, referred to in his obituary as the father of public relations. His best-known campaigns included 1929 effort to promote female smoking and branding cigarettes as feminist torches of freedom. Based? Oh my goodness. The Funk Master General with another pass in honor of Nicholas and his ragtag brigade of kindred spirit non-binary wombats. May their swords always be pointy. Always. Oh, God damn it. Treats for more. We're down. You guys have been blessing us. We empty. All right, here you go. Oh, let's get it on camera. There's one. We're doubling up tonight because we're giving you little pieces. But it's holding up the show, motherfucker. Take it. Thank you. Shout out again. Out. Sponsoring himself yet again, a pillar of this community. Thank you so very, very much. Where is it? Thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate that. I know that we don't always agree on things. We get heated and stuff, but the fact that we can come here and do that and still be friends, be on the same team, and always be looking at our goal. I think that is, my favorite thing about you guys, my favorite thing about doing this. So thank you so very, very much.
by funding politicians' campaigns.
In some places, and in some places they just went and killed the czar, right? In some places they just went, rich industrialists just funded and killed the monarchy and then started their own shit, right? The method always differs, but the same thing, it's always the same thing.
Always taken
the
over
communists come in, the rich industrialists, they create a new government there, or the rich industrialists create a new government here. The methods might be different, but it sure seems like they're making a brand new thing, not necessarily perverting what's there. They literally just make a new thing. You know?
Okay, I don't completely disagree. To some degree, it seems like a distinction without a difference. But yes, I would agree that they, at least in the United States of America, the path was to buy off politicians and then create, as you would say, a new thing, to supersede the Constitution, to create a new government. So
then I don't know. How do you check that kind of power? How do you check that?
Look, this is a great question. And this is a great question, by the way, which, okay, I'll say this.
What was that? It sounded like he was going, is anybody super, what's the word? What's the word? When you're like, you get easily like, squeamish? Squeamish. Is anybody, is that going to make you throw up?
Look, this is a great question. And this is a great question, by the way, which, okay, I'll say this. As people who do what me and you do, and maybe this is part of the reason why I wanted to have more of a conversation with you than like a formal
And this
debate.
has been fun as shit, by the way.
Dude, I'm loving it. I love these conversations. But I think
I said shit. Me too. I do love these conversations. I do love the challenge that it presents to check ourselves and to, like I was saying before, question our own beliefs. And you know, again, I have my own things to work on in terms of addressing these for people who haven't, you know, pestered me. It's just the I've been pestered by the questions, but each individual person is asking good faith. I understand that, and I need to get better at that, and I'm working on it. I'm not perfect, all right? I'm just a dirty heathen atheist, all right? What do you expect? Sandy said, so government is the common denominator, but Andrew's solution is to make government bigger and get away with more?
What?
Yup. I ain't no sense.
that the truth is that me and you are both, in the world we're in, we're incentivized to project certainty. And the truth is that I just think there's a thing when you do a show, when you're talking to anyone, you're incentivized to be like, I know what I'm saying, and I'm telling you this is the answer. The truth is that what you just raised is a really excellent question for all of us, because what is the answer here? And I'll tell you, if you're going to say the answer is that, well, there shouldn't be these titans of industry because they create so much power amongst themselves. Or if your answer is going to be, well, they should always be kept away from government because if they get control of government, then they can do even more damage than they do. What I think is that
Here we go. Cook 'em, Dave. Cook 'em. The final redemption. All right. So after this point, I'm going to do another poll. Did Dave redeem himself? So think about your answer and think about he's cooking right now. So this might be the game changer. This might be the game changer.
Themselves. Or if your answer is going to be, well, they should always be kept away from government because if they get control of government, then they can do even more damage than they do. What I think is that I fall down on the side that goes, listen, if you're going to say there can't be industry, then you're going to condemn us all to live a life of extreme poverty. If we can't have prices and we can't have markets and we can't have technological advancement, then we're basically all going to be living in a life that we all choose we would rather not be living in. And so to me, the only plausible answer that I can think of is that you have to allow markets, allow prices, and try. And by the way, there's been no answer to this yet. But try in some way to limit their ability to gain control of the government.
But that kind of sounds like the opposite of libertarianism, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And shout out to Guamtech for a great, serious question for hardline Christians. What is your goal by arguing with an atheist about your beliefs? Is it to turn them to your side? What if they don't, but support you? I would love an answer, whether you consider yourself hardline or not. I would love if you've engaged in the discussion about my morality or the necessity of Christianity or even religion in general for morality. I would love to hear an answer to this question. Great question, Guamtech.
Of the government.
But that kind of sounds like the opposite of libertarianism, right?
I don't think so.
I mean,
Well,
if you're going to limit markets, you're going to need to have control.
No.
You're going to need to have some
limit
control.
markets. I'm not saying limit markets. I'm saying limit their ability to control governments.
That would be limiting the market.
No, I think the way to do that is to limit governments.
Right.
Yeah, but how do you limit government without having a force apparatus? That's the problem here.
No, I don't think, I think
absent
you can use
force,
force to
absent
limit
a force.
government.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
then, but that's going to be some kind of centralized force, and I think we're just back to government again.
No, so I disagree.
This is working backwards. Well, if there's anything that's going to be regulatory, then it's going to be centralized. Is it though? Is it though? Maybe, maybe not.
I think it's like this kind of big circle, you know?
No, okay, so what I disagree with that in is that I don't think that force necessarily has to come from the centralized government. And I think, in fact, the best mechanism so far yet established to limit that force is a strong decentralization. That you want to have as much force like on a more decentralized level that can check the more centralized force.
It's interesting because I think we agree on so many particulars, but then we come to wildly different conclusions. That's what I think is the most interesting part of this conversation. I wasn't expecting that part, right? But I
that was a dig.
Have been having fun with the convo. But when we come to these
if you're a grown man, please don't say convo unironically.
Particulars, right? And the answer to me, it seems like it's a donut effect, right? It's like, okay, we can't have the market just overtake everything because rich industrialists will make their own government. But if we have no government, we have nothing really to check this with. And so hopefully, I mean, there'll be a limiting system. We don't know exactly what it'll be. And that's fair. How could you? You can only postulate different systems. You don't know for sure. Libertarianism en masse has never really been tried. I agree that that's true. But the radically different conclusion that I come to is when I look at the governments of the world in world history, there's monarchies, which have been great. There's limited democracies, which have been fantastic. There's even kind of tribal societies, which have been good. It seems that the moral bedrock of the people themselves matter more than the institutions of the government. And the reason...
Or the government or the church.
The reason I think that is because I think that moral people...
It's so funny. It's so funny how people can apply these principles to everything in life. But that you save this little piece right here, this thing called religion, that's completely outside of the realm of criticism or questioning or anything. Listen to it. Why does religion not belong in this sentence?
Moral bedrock of the people themselves matter more than the institutions of the government. And the reason I think that is because I think that moral people tend to have a government representing them that they deserve. That's kind of the conclusion that I come to. And so when I see like the Libertarian presidential candidate, for instance, going out and throwing Skittles to the crowd, right? As many Skittles as he can possibly grasp in his palm, I recognize that even if you were to...
Is Skittles like an entendre for something? Or was dude literally throwing Skittles at people?
To have kind of the libertarian utopia, we were able to snap our fingers and it was there, and a guy like that was in charge, you would end up with so much social degeneracy and decay that people would be begging at the altar to have some sanity brought back in from a government. And so it's like,
why is that the case? Why is that the case? Because again, you're working backwards from, well, there's no God there, so how could they have any morality? If you always work back from that, of course you're always going to be right, because you can't disprove God. You can't disprove and you certainly can't disprove the fact that religion's been very poignant in human history. It's just an argument that can't be defeated, not because it's so strong, because it's not based in anything, but I said so.
That people would be begging at the altar to have some sanity brought back in from a government.
Says who?
And so it's like, I think that absent this moral foundation, it ultimately doesn't even matter.
So, okay. So I will 50% agree with you on that. I think that the moral foundation of your society is the most important thing that's going to determine where your society is going. I agree with that. And I think that, if you have a very immoral society, it doesn't matter if you... Like, there's nobody in the world who could just plug in X's and O's in terms of what the legal policy is that would like solve that problem. Mm-hmm. I don't agree that there's that there could be a highly centralized totalitarian government that would then instill morality into their people.
You don't think that there was good monarchies?
No. I do think there were good monarchies.
I mean, how can it be more totalitarian than a monarchy?
I don't know, communism, Nazism.
I'm not sure that they're more,
Democrats.
I'm not sure that they're more totalitarian than the buck stops with one guy, right?
Yeah, but that's
I'm not smart enough to understand how to rebut that. I'm just not dumb enough to think that made sense. I like, now that we're in Dave's wheelhouse, I hope he can articulate what I have in my head, because I'm not smart enough to point out why what Andrew said was dumb. But it was dumb.
Totalitarian than a monarchy.
I don't know.
Yeah, communism is not more authoritarian than the current United Kingdom. Okay.
Oh, communism, Nazism.
I'm not sure that they're more,
Democrats.
I'm not sure that they're more totalitarian than the buck stops with one guy, right?
Yeah, but that's not, look, it's not a matter of just the fact that there's one guy. In fact, the fact that there's one guy oftentimes made the central government weaker than the one of the by the
That sounds like you're advocating for more centralization then.
No,
If we have centralized power with one person.
He just said that one person can help prevent the centralization. And the next word out of Andrew's mouth, it sounds like you're talking about centralization. Are you listening?
Sounds like you're advocating for more centralization then.
No,
So
no,
if
no,
we
no.
have centralized power with one person,
Well, no, hold on.
then
let
that means that there's less ability to corrupt. That's like the
but
ultimate
it's
argument for centralization.
No, it's actually not. But if you've never, you should read Democracy, the God That Failed
I
by
have.
Hans Hermann Hoppe. You have?
I have,
Okay.
yeah.
So okay, great. So if you understand then the argument, at least, you could reject the argument or accept it, but the argument at least is that actually having a monarch in many ways made for a less powerful central government.
But what Hoppe's saying,
All right, bro. You try that. Be mean and see how that works. UK is pretty bad, but not centrally, not because of the monarchy. You think the monarchy? No, like that's what we're talking about. The fact that there is a monarchy is more centralized. The government the governing body is more centralized because of the monarchy than communism. Come on, bro. What are we doing? What are we saying?
But look, hold on. Just to be clear, we don't live in a monarchy in the United States of America. It's a democracy.
Yeah, I know. It's
Look,
terrible.
It's a more powerful centralized government than any monarchy that's ever existed.
Well, what's interesting
Hell yeah.
is that, I disagree with this. I think even Hoppe would. So I think that democracy makes kings out of everybody. And so the thing is that that's the most decentralized power I could ever think of. And it led to the most centralized power structure I could think of. But that's what's interesting about this.
That's not Hoppe's argument.
No, it's not. But I'm saying that I think that, let me streamline into Hoppe's argument.
Sure.
What Hoppe's saying is that amongst kind of the natural class,
I would say more or less monarchies are symbolic nowadays. I'm sure there's monarchies somewhere that I'm not familiar with that are not symbolic, very practical. But I'd say like what's a country? What's a country with a monarchy where the king has more power than the uniparty in America? I don't know. Guantek said to Carl, I like the idea that the original description for meek was along the lines of, quote, having a sharp sword, but having the wisdom to keep it mostly sheathed.
Bingo.
I think I know where you got that from. We're not in Sodom and Gomorrah. Zibby said, one thing of note, you go back pre-industrialism, hard centralization kind of works. The modern world is a very different system than pre-industry. Yep. And of course, America is a constitutional republic. Yeah, they're saying that it is. Remember the hate off? I hate democracy more than you do. Did we just become best friends? Yeah, that whole thing.
class of people. There's going to be people who generally rise to the top, and people are going to want to follow that man no matter what. He could be called a village elder. He could be called any number of things.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I'll take your word for it. I'm not familiar with French politics, other than the fact that fucking what's her face, Candace Owens, just put money down that Bridget, whatever, the wife, Macron is a man, baby. So you can say Saudi is an authoritarian monarchy today. Fair, yeah, okay. But yeah, yeah. Agreed. That is how the story goes.
We're going to want to follow that man no matter what. He could be called a village elder. He could be called any number of things.
Yes,
okay.
yes, that is more.
Yeah, this is kind of.
Yeah, don't they have? Don't they definitely have a monarchy. I remember talking, thinking about there's a prince of Saudi Arabia who I don't even remember what the story was, but I definitely heard prince of Saudi Arabia. Maybe I'm wrong.
Be called a village elder. He could be called any number of things.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, that is more.
Yeah, this is kind of like the natural ebb and flow of things. Okay, but the thing is, you can hold that guy to account for the decisions that he makes, and so because he has a kind of this cross generational need to make sure his legacy is good and he can be held to account, his kids will be held to account. He's invested then in what happens with his country and what happens with his people and this type of thing. But that really the kind of, I think, great conundrum here or kind of the greatest argument against Dave Smith right now is that is the ultimate in.
Okay, but how much power, genuine question, not challenging you. How much power does the Vatican have in broader Italy? That would be the question there.
The greatest argument against Dave Smith right now is that
he doesn't believe in God.
Is the ultimate in centralizing power, and yet it leads to ultimately the best results for decentralization of people being able to come in and fuck everything up. And that is the paradox I think you have to contend with. Is Hoppe's argument.
Dude, you got to read Hoppe again, man. See, there's no paradox there. See, this is what's really interesting about Hoppe's point, and I think he's right about this, is that he goes, look, what happens is if you have a monarchy, you essentially are simulating private ownership over the government. Okay. And
perfect centralized authority.
No. But that's not exactly the same thing. That's not the same thing.
How is it not the same thing?
Well, let me explain.
All right.
Because look, it's not the government of the United States of America has more centralized authority than any monarch could, even if it was just one man who had like again, if one man has, let's say, for the sake of argument, had 10% control of.
Oh, I remember. This is a perfect argument. Oh my God. I remember this. So we're going to, assuming nothing else comes in, we're going to hear this argument. We'll talk about it a little bit and then head to the after party. I definitely want to talk about this with y'all.
Than any monarch could, even if it was just one man who had like again, if one man has, let's say, for the sake of argument, had 10% control of what the U.S. centralized government has right now. That would be more power in one person's hand than any one person in the U.S. government has right now. Like no 10%. One person has 10%, let's say.
Yeah, but you're giving him 100%.
Hold on. No, I'm not. All right. Let me just make the point. Let's say for the sake of argument, right? Okay, that the most powerful person in the federal government today, whoever you think that is, whether it's the head of the Fed or it's the president of the United States or it's the head of the CIA, we could debate about who's the most powerful position. But let's just say, for example, that the most powerful person has.
Those are not Christians. Those are people LARPing as Christians. But you let them in your club more than me, so you make your bed and lay in it.
Had 9% of the entire federal government in their control.
Yeah.
And let's say as a king, you had 10% of what is the current federal government in your control.
Yeah.
So that one person would have more power than any one person in our current government has.
But still only has 10%. There's still 90% of the control on the table.
They still only have 10% of what is 100% if you were to add in the IRS, the NSA, the CIA, the Federal Reserve, the presidency, the Congress. You get my point? That even though it might be more centralized.
He's like, nope, you've laid it out pretty directly, but not really.
in one
Well,
person.
Listen, I actually don't. I still see the paradox. So the paradox is.
But let me just say, do you get the point I'm making?
I think I do. Let me try to. Let me kind of repeat it.
So before he goes there, Sandy said the only government can centralize things by force. The more he wants government to meddle in private entities, the easier it is to centralize. I've never taken Econ 101, but just a logical conclusion of unchecked power. Exactly. But it's God. So come on, Sandy. It's God. Like, it's God.
But let me just say, do you get the point I'm making?
I think I do. Let me try to. Let me kind of repeat it back to make sure that I got it.
Sure.
You're saying that on the micro, if you were to give one person that kind of authority, it would be an overwhelming amount of authority?
No.
Let me make
That's
this
the opposite of what he was saying. That's the opposite of what he was saying. He's saying if you give somebody 10% of the power, then they only have 10% of the power. But if you have an apparatus where this one person has 10% and they're connected to the CIA that has another 8% and the IRS has another 30%, then the one person is not the same thing, or the one person and them having 10% of the power is irrelevant. Because what we're talking about is the centralization of the president and the CIA and the FBI and the IRS together. Oh, fucking shut up.
Okay.
So I'm saying that if you have this huge centralized government today, the United States of America's federal government, okay, and all of the power that encompasses, what 100% of that is the power. Let's say hypothetically that the most powerful person in that government, again, at whatever point was going to be 9% of the total government.
Yeah.
Just hypothetically, maybe it's more than that, but just say hypothetically. And let's say
so one person is the entire IRS.
No,
like just for the sake of argument, they had all.
No. The president is one person. The IRS is a group of people, which goes against your point of, oh, well, one person. You get one person. That's centralizing the power. So you see that, oh, depending on the grounds on which we're having this conversation, it's very easy for one person to run circles around the other. And, I think it was Justin who said that, Dave was willing to, get into the conversation about dating and all the stuff that we skipped over and all of this stuff before we got here to his realm. And instead of Andrew using that as an opportunity to show that he can be a chill dude and just have a conversation so that when he goes hard and he's like, well, you stop. No, I asked you a question. Answer the question. When he does that, it's like, well, yes, that is appropriate for here, but we've already seen that he can be more conversational. He just did it with Dave Smith. Perception is reality. You're not going to make it far if you're known as a debate bro. And like, you'll go decently far, but then people are just gonna be like, dude, you're not interested in doing things. You're just interested in winning. And nobody cares to see you win or lose except the simps who are on your channel. When you're doing things that actually affect people's lives, then we have a different type of conversation. And again, if you want to just get a bunch of people to like what you say and give you money for that and have that be your job, that's perfectly fine. But it's not the same thing. Just because all three of us are on YouTube doesn't mean all three of us are doing the same thing.
And let's say
so one person is the entire IRS.
Stupid. No,
like just for the sake of argument, they had all the authority. If the IRS represented 10% and that was given to one person, that one guy is the IRS. He's a representative of the IRS. He's the only one in the IRS.
So Balance said, I think citizens need to be given more free energy, free healthcare, free education, gifts for marriage, and children to stay together. Where is that money coming from? We're already broke as fuck. We already have a culture of gimme. I am owed this. I'm entitled to this. And you want to give people more free stuff? I think that seems counterintuitive. Am I wrong?
To one person, that one guy is the IRS. He's a representative of the IRS. He's the only one in the IRS.
Whoever it is, that's not exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if Whoever that you think the most powerful person in the United States of America's federal government is, whatever percentage of the total federal government that he has power over.
It's smaller than the other parties, not parties, but other entities.
Let's say, for example, hypothetically, it was 9%. And let's say you had a monarch who had 10%. That one guy would have more power than any one guy in the United States of America's federal government had.
Yeah, but that's my point. Yeah, I agree.
Right.
And what did I say? What did I say when that happened to Chris Cuomo? Did I say the same thing, or did I say something different? Again, with the assumptions. Justin said, I call that the royal free when people say the government should provide free stuff. Yeah. I mean, Sabellin said, yeah, I get it, but people are stuck struggling. Why are they struggling? It seems like, now correlation is not causation, but it seems to me that there's an inverse relationship with giving more free stuff and living better lives. It seems to go, the more that you give people free stuff, the worse the society is. Why is that? Again, I'm not trying to be, I'm just asking, why is that going to improve things at all? Okay, sure, but are we saying that Dave Smith deserves to be blood sported like Chris Cuomo did? Because I would strongly disagree with that. I mean, yeah, I think so too. I'm just trying to bridge the gap here, but seems like so would we say that if Dave Smith somehow, we have time travel and Dave Smith blood sported Hitler, we're gonna be like, hey, well, he was hard on Hitler. I mean, so Andrew Wilson can be hard on him. That don't make no sense. Unless I'm stupid and I don't get it.
In the United States of America's federal government had.
Yeah, but that's my point. Yeah, I agree.
Right. But you're not just hear me.
I'm listening. Yeah.
So, okay, but he's still got 10% of what is the entire federal government, which is 100%. So it could be, at least understand hypothetically, it could be more centralized. There could be one person who has more power than any one person has.
I see.
They have less total power.
So let me repeat this back. Now I get it. So you're saying,
yeah.
In lieu of this guy having 10% of total authority, the 90% which is left over, which is still centralized, he can create an offset for that. He can create an offset just in lieu of him having that kind of like check against that balance of power, right?
The only point I'm making is that even if all the power was in one person's hands, it still could theoretically be 1/10 of the power that the entire federal apparatus has right now.
Okay, got it.
He's conflating one person of the federal apparatus to the federal apparatus. Oh, you say it's just one guy. Yeah, it's one guy, but it's not like he can just do whatever he wants. I mean, I'm going to change that by a lot, but he still can't just do whatever he wants. Funkmaster General said, I'd rather give my loot to Lutch instead of paying for people's health care so they can be large and unhealthy. I said, shit, me too. I would much, much rather that as well. Steven said, no matter how much loot you give Lutch, he will never get too big for his. I don't know about that. If you start just throwing bans at me, I'm not making any promises. I'm human, but I'm gonna try. As best as I've said many, many times before, we are way closer. It's way cooler when you don't hit the mic. We are way closer to the beginning of this chapter, this channel, this whatever this is. We've only just begun. In 5 years, your mama's going to know my name. Yep. For real, though, I do think that there is a way to balance being somebody who is what's the word I want to use? I don't know. Somebody that you know is trusted, somebody who you know people can look up to. I want to be somebody who people can look up to and be like, that is how I want to have conversations with people I disagree with. That is how I want to conduct my politics, regardless of my beliefs. I mean, realistically, I don't know. I mean, everybody got a price. You pay me $10 million and I'll say whatever the fuck you want, but ain't nobody paying me $10 million. So until we get there, let's you know, put that aside. I think we could all be guilty of that. But on a serious note, I care more about what we're doing than making money or being famous or known or whatever. And that's why, again, in the beginning of this, I was saying that in terms of goals, I think I'm much more in line with Dave because he's trying to have important conversations that other people can benefit from, whereas Andrew seems to want to have the conversations that benefit him. And he said, cut all the red tape in developing energy. Government stops subsidizing healthcare. Lower taxes, lower inflation leads to surplus household income. Abolish the DOE. Push private school or homeschool. Yeah, I say at this point, private school ain't even good enough. But it's probably, again, pod learning is, I would imagine, cheaper or could be cheaper than private school. I think if you have, I don't know, somewhere 10, 15, 20, I think if you're 10, 15, somewhere around there, kids or families, let's say families that are willing to go in on this pod together. Either you can rent an office space or something like that, or if you have enough people, you just rotate everybody's home. And once every other month, you hold school in your home that day. And you all split the cost for a proctor, a home tutor, whatever. So I will pay you. Hey, yo, Masad, what's good, homie? Let's go. No, fuck that. Fuck that. Balance said it would work if people were more consciously aware, but they ain't. So yes, you're right. It's fucking hopeless. It's not hopeless. It's just we're in a very tumultuous time, and the future is the direction the future is going to go is not very clear. And so that's why it's very important that we forge the direction that we want things to move, because it's almost like there's not an invisible hand. You know how like there's the invisible hand of the market. It's almost like there's a social aspect of that, where if you just let things kind of fester and don't inject any goals and principles, that people will just devolve into, hedonistic degenerates, as we've seen. And so it's not the fact that these people have left specifically religion. It's the fact that these people have left a moral structure in general. It doesn't have to be your specific beliefs. It just has to be a moral structure that is beneficial to society. That's it. There you go. Home learned. There you go. That's the way to go. Zuby said, subsidized education has made education costly as all the sharks and rats seek money from it. Don't forget about the teachers' unions. Stephen Colbert Cheese. So can you get your followers to care more about being highly honest versus saying things they want to hear? I doubt it on social media, given incentivizations. Well, I can't get my, I don't like the word followers, but whatever. I can't get anybody to do anything. I can just sit here and give you my opinion on why you should be more honest and not say things that people want to hear. That's all I can do. I don't have control over you or anybody else. But I definitely can influence you, and absolutely, that's what I've been doing since day one. Is honesty and truth is the only way forward. That is why I have a problem with religion. That is precisely why I have a problem with religion. Yep. The beautiful ones. The beautiful ones. Yeah. All right. Let's dive back. How much time we got on this? All right. We're going to finish this up.
tenth of the power that the entire federal apparatus has right now.
Okay, got it.
That's kind of the point I'm making. And what Hoppe's argument was,
But that would still be centralization of power.
yes, it would be.
That would still be mass centralization. Like that would
No
be core
question.
authority centralization of power.
We're
And you're
in
saying it's the least corrupt system to do that.
No. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying.
Well, I mean,
is that
Hoppe was.
No. What Hoppe was saying, what his argument is that monarchy is less centralized power than democracy. And that democracy is way more, because the evil of democracy is that, this is Hoppe's argument, which I largely agree with, but just laying out Hoppe's argument, is that what happens is that when you have a monarchy, you have this one guy who owns the government and therefore is incentivized in the same way that private owners are in general. Like my house, I'm not just going to let my house fall apart because I own it. I want to pass it on to my kids. I want to at least kind of do right by it.
Making a lot of sense.
But if I don't own my house and I'm just elected to oversee it for 4 years and everyone kind of feels like we all own the house or we could be next to own the house, then I might as well just loot the goddamn house because I'm going to be out of power in 4 years.
But how is this different than
Hoppe's
checks and
point.
balances?
I'm sorry, ask that again.
How is that different than checks and balances?
Because the difference between, say, like checks and balances as are, typically understood by Americans is that there'll be these different, power sources that all get a little bit of authority over the other one. What Hoppe is saying is that that the actual check is more of a market check. It's more of something like, hey, I have ownership of this. I don't want to just squander it. I want to see it off to the next generation.
Right.
And
So then
Hoppe's
his his ultimate check and balance is a centralization of the most amount of authority viewed in one man.
But
That is irrelevant if it doesn't lead to actual federal centralization. You keep saying that, but it doesn't lead to what you're implying that it leads to. Balance she says, is it she's or shes? I know I asked you last time. I apologize, but I'm terrible at reading. She said, I wasn't talking about money coming from taxes. From resources, it should be shared. But I'm here to learn and open and neutral. So I don't understand. I'm not sure I fully understand. So if the money is not coming from taxes, what does that mean? From resources? I'm not. Yeah. It doesn't sound like it sounds like a difference without a distinction. But I am also open and here to learn.
Of the most amount of authority viewed in one man.
Not the most amount of authority. What Hoppe is saying, and if you read Hoppe's work, he's very clear on this.
I mean, but it would have to be. Like, let's think about it logically. So if all of these other institutions in this representation, the other 90%, right, have, I don't know, let's just say 10 guys, right? Just 10 guys.
Sure.
Okay. Then that would necessarily limit the power of each one of those institutions by 10, right? By the 10 who share it versus the one who has the full 10.
Unless they work together against the people, and you now have 10 people with each having 10% of power, which is 100% of the power, and it's very centralized.
So it would still be an ultimate centralization in one man to check all of these other little like micro shared authorities. It sounds like it just sounds a lot to me like checks and balances with an authoritarian leader. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me.
This is a good question. You could be king of a 2 square foot piece of land. How much capacity for tyranny does this king have? And I mean, yeah, that's a great way to explain this. I think that's perfect. Context says, tax AI and automation. Give it back to the people as UBI. Problem solved. I'm not mad at it. I'll tell you what. Stephen Goldberg Cheese said balance probably means a government can gain money to pay for programs by nationalizing resources instead of letting them be private. Gain money to pay for programs by nationalizing resources. That sounds bad. I'm trying to sit here. Nationalizing resources, meaning that if there's a river here, then someone in California has the same rights to it. That sounds like communism. Yeah, okay. I thought I was dumb, and I am pretty dumb, but I don't like that. I mean, hey, don't we all? Don't we all? I mean, maybe not everybody, but you know, every normal person doesn't want people to struggle. But that's the old adage of if you're not a liberal when you're young, you have no heart, and if you don't become more conservative as you get older, you have no brain. Because of course, it would be amazing to just throw money at every problem and fix everything and live in utopia. That would be amazing. And if that were how things worked, we would all vote for that. But that's not how things work. And unfortunately, because of the scale of everything, because of the level of deception and corruption that we have in our government, we can't trust these people to say, okay, take our money with no receipt and distribute it perfectly in the ways that we need it to be distributed and fix the actual problems, because we pay the taxes and then they just line their pockets. And they tell you, oh, we're working on homelessness, we're working on racism, we're working on transphobia. Are you though? That's how it goes. That's how it goes.
It just sounds a lot to me like checks and balances with an authoritarian leader. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me.
Well, look, again, you're assuming that it's the same total percentage, but have you ever heard of a monarch?
I'm just engaging with your
okay, have you ever heard of a monarch who ruled over a government who spent $6 trillion a year?
Well, not that much, no.
Not even close, huh?
No.
So,
but I mean, that's scalable. I can give you, for instance, King
animals have not figured out language or fire or agriculture. Well, some have, but most of them, no, they have not.
Richard,
theory,
King Richard the Lionheart, for instance, basically bankrupted his entire nation for the Crusades, right?
And Hoppe would be the first one to admit that there's been tyrannical monarchs who have done a very bad job. So, but Hoppe's point is essentially, and again, this is a very interesting theory. I'm not sure if he's right or not. I kind of tend to think he is, but Hoppe's argument was that essentially a libertarian order is preferable to a monarch, which is preferable to democracy. And that his argument was that as somebody who opposes statism, democracy is the worst form of government you could have.
Well, so I've always agreed with
Hoppe's argument.
I've always agreed with Hoppe. I think that you encapsulate it a little bit differently than I do. So the thing is, you can take a book, read it, and have kind of radically different views on what it was that the author. Now I've listened.
Yeah, it's almost like if you put a sheet of Christianity in front of every single thing that you read and say and do, that you're going to have a different understanding as just openly addressing it. But
listen to some of Hoppe's lectures as well. Dorky guy, glasses, right? Real smart. But the thing is
wait, who? All right, we'll go back in a second. Carl said, I had a theory that communism never survives beyond a small farm collective. It is such a failed system that it cannot scale up to have national rule without embracing nationalism, which makes them fascist. I don't know if well, yeah, I'm not going to nitpick. Agreed. Denny said, maybe we are made to struggle despite all our advantages. Maybe.
Dorky guy, glasses, right? Real smart. But the thing is
oh yeah, I want to hear who they're talking about.
And have kind of radically different views on what it was that the author.
We're talking about Dennis Hopper.
Now I've listened to some of Hoppe's lectures as well. Dorky guy, glasses, right? Real smart. But the thing is the accent drove me nuts, but I still listened anyway.
Oh, okay? I love it. Really?
Yeah, okay. So yeah, it drove me nuts.
Jewish,
it did. It drove me nuts. But anyway, so I listened to him quite a bit on this.
Wait. This is not the right Dennis Hopper. Wait, hold on.
To me, remember how earlier in the conversation, going way back, I brought up Ayn Rand and how it seemed like it was just kind of a cope to me that she had to flip the industrialists to be the good guys in order to make her paradigm work. Kind of seemed like a bit of a cope from Hoppe as well, to try to say, like, look, naturally people want centralized authority, and they're going to centralize authority into one person. And the thing is that as long as there's free markets around, okay, and free markets check that one person, they have an investment in the future. Still, the majority of power needs to rely with one person. I think that the rest of the tangentials around that were, just like Rand, something of a coping mechanism, because the guy was really saying there's going to be a natural hierarchy. There's going to be a motherfucker at the top of that hierarchy. And
Justin and I completely agree.
You want that shit. That's what I think.
Okay, so I don't. Okay, so
okay. I thought his name was Dennis. That's why I was like, it's Dennis Hopper. No, okay, thank you.
Motherfucker at the top of that hierarchy, and you want that shit. That's what I think.
Okay, so I don't. Okay, so what I think you listen. I can't blame you if the accent is the reason for you not accepting it, but that's not exactly what Hoppe is saying. It is partially what he's saying, What he is saying, and what I would say too, what libertarians in general believe, is that yes, there is going to be a hierarchy. And yes, that is what people want. And yes, there will be a guy at the top, and most people do want that. So that part is true. The distinction that libertarians make is whether, from my perspective, whether that's a hierarchy of competence or whether it's a hierarchy of just force. And what we would prefer is a voluntary hierarchy of competence. I am, by the way, Andrew, I was
just about to say, I got to wrap up. I got to head over to a different podcast, but I really fucking enjoyed this conversation. It was a ton of fun. And, all men, as Hoppe would say, need adversaries, right? We need adversaries, but in the spirit of camaraderie as well. So,
all right. So, they're just closing up. All right. So, we put up the poll about how long ago? That was about half hour ago, and 60% of you were saying that Dave redeemed himself. I would agree. I think it shows that, despite losing the debate, that there is another realm of discussion where, Andrew is not going to be on the same level as Dave, and there's realms where, they each have their strengths. Let's see where we're at. So, but if you look at Soviet rhetoric, it is very nationalistic, and the party were all in bed with corporations, so they were fascists. Yeah, agreed with that. Steven said, which include Soviet communism failed in a worldwide competition with capitalism for a reason. Capitalism incentivizes people to be better to increase the GDP, but human flourishment is more than a GDP number. Human happiness comparisons between nations is a more accurate metric, which includes numerous factors, including freedom of speech and information. There you go. He said, how about not going against individual will and just focus on assault, coercion, theft, fraud, etc.? Trying to nitpick what men do is a dead end. Could not agree with you more. So, that's the show, guys. I think, this was a much better peek into who these guys are, as opposed to who wins. They're very different people. They have very different approaches. They have very different ideas, but they each have their own strengths and weaknesses. And, I think that is fair enough. I don't think it needs to go any further than that. If you want to, suck off one guy over the other, feel free. But, if you're just looking at how do these people perform in the world in terms of their discussions, and how do they perform in the world in terms of spreading a message and affecting how other people think, then I think we got a much better picture from this one than the last one. You are very welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank every one of you for being here. I know that you could be spending your time doing anything else, and the fact that you guys are here talking with me, challenging me, we're going back and forth, we get a little animated, we get a little heaty, that's where it gets fun. So as much as they enjoyed this, I enjoyed this with you guys, and it is always fun to see new faces, and I really do appreciate the challenges. So I do implore you guys to come back. I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I've been going live almost every single day. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell. And like I said, we're always doing this. And we are much closer to the beginning than the end every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. As long as I can talk, I will be in this chair talking about something that is relevant to our nation. Sometimes it's going to be something you agree with, and sometimes it's going to be something that you hate. And if you can handle that, then you're in the right place. If not, I totally understand, but we get real here. And that makes us wrong. All of us are going to be wrong with something sometimes, but that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. So, as if he said, I don't like dick. So I don't.
Haram!
I'm not saying that out loud. Bellin said, thanks for the company. People love listening to different opinions. Minds open. Hell yes. Dionysus said, respect all and be safe. Thank you for the show. You guys are very, very welcome. Let's shout out all of the donations. I'm going to do, you guys were so generous. I'm going to do, it's the two of you, but all at once. Well, We first started out with our boy Zippy. We had the Funk Master General coming in hot. Now we had our boy Christian with the $5 super chat. Another Rumble rant from Zippy. He doubled up on this one. We had the gifted memberships. Guys, if you've got a gifted membership, we are headed over to the that's not it. The after party, which I just joined right now. I am sitting in there, so don't let me sit alone because I want to party. And of course, last but never least, the Funk Master General. Thank you, guys, so very, very much. I really, really, really do appreciate it. This is even so far, this is bigger than I really expected this to be. And you know, I'm doing my best. But we're on this journey together. So if you give me grace, I will give you grace. And I think we could be friends. Did we just become best friends? Maybe. 1 like equals 1 pet for Morty. Hit that. Once again, that is Morty. And I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, thank you so very, very much. We are out of here. Peace.